Get Nasty here on a Tuesday afternoon. Jamie Rivers, Danny Mac.
What's up, Jamie?
How you doing?
I'm
Andrew
doing
Marsh, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Marshy got a nice sweatshirt on. Did you get that for Christmas?
I did. I got this new hat for Christmas, this blues sweatshirt for Christmas. A lot of goodies over the weekend.
Well, if you're interested in seeing Marshy's sweatshirt, all you got to do is tune into the YouTube channel brought to you by Air Alliance Team. Check that out. He's looking fresh. Yeah. So how was the holidays, guys? I mean,
It was great.
Yeah. I mean, we're the only ones back to work that I see.
What are you talking about? This place is buzzing and buzzing with people.
It's like a ghost town.
There's nobody here.
Did I not get the memo?
How come you guys didn't do like a best of for the week?
Well, I wanted to, but apparently we don't have that many good things to talk about. The best stuff got rejected. Damn it.
It was a good Christmas, though. It was good. Yeah, I mean, like you, Jamie, we got kids. Having the kids around, it's fun. You know, it's just, it's the holiday season, all that good stuff. It was a good weekend of sports, so good weekend all across the board.
Good.
How about you?
So, well, me, it was good. We had the game on, I don't know what day of the week that was now, the 23rd.
Friday, I think, right?
Friday, yeah, sure, Friday. And
24th was Saturday, 25th Sunday, 20...
The Blues?
No,
yeah.
wait a
Blues
minute.
game? I think it was Saturday.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
I don't even know what day it is.
it was a Saturday. You're right, Andrew.
I thought Saturday was Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. When I came in here to get nasty, I forgot what day of the week it was.
Is that why you paused
is
for a
Tuesday.
second?
That's exactly why I paused. I was trying to do quick math in my head. I'm like, what's today? What's today?
Let's get nasty on a...
Yeah.
On
I
a
almost said,
weekend,
let's-
on a weekday.
I almost said, let's get nasty today. So, so we had the game, and I had all the kids at the house following the game. I always have one simple request is that on the night, because we celebrated Christmas Eve was our Christmas day, just because of the kids with their mother and things like that. So on the 23rd was like our Christmas Eve, and I always have a thing on Christmas Eve to where, and it's not a big ask, because I know the attention spans of the world, I mean, they are not there. My ask is that we all get together. Everybody spends the night at my house, so that we wake up in the morning together as a group, and that we watch the Grinch cartoon, the original, the OG.
The cartoon.
The original. Like
Not the Jim Carrey.
No. I don't mind Jim Carrey. It's not
pretty good.
It's not like I'm against it, but it's like a 24-minute long cartoon, and it's just greatness. The whole thing. He's such a miserable person that it's like, it's just like, it just gets me to giggle. And so we put all that together, and then we woke up the next day and had a great Christmas and great brunch and all that stuff.
You know, I'm not real happy right now because Marshy was supposed to come over for Christmas.
What?
You've missed it. So on Thanksgiving, he was supposed to come over. He was invited. Clean slate, come on over, have turkey and all the fixins. Didn't show. So then on Christmas, I said, hey, you're more than welcome to come over for Christmas.
Yeah.
Hang out with the kids, open some presents. We'll help you out. We'll get you some stuff, maybe another blue sweater.
Ooh.
North Dakota pond hockey hat. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Nice little corduroy hat.
No show. No show again by Marshy.
You know,
Marshy, you got to explain yourself.
I know.
What's wrong with Danny Mac's home?
Nothing's wrong with Danny Mac's home. I had a long weekend of just bouncing around to different houses, going from, Alton, Illinois, all the way out to Chesterfield, back to, over here and then downtown, and just all sorts of different places I had to go. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to stop by Danny Mac's house over the weekend. I almost photoshopped a picture of me and Danny Mac, though. And I would have threw it on Twitter.
Christmas tree, presents.
Everything. Yeah. It would have been me and Danny Mac and all the little critters from
My Family?
The Rudolph movie.
My goodness.
What's the
land of misfit toys?
Yeah, it would have been all those little guys hanging out with me and Danny Mac.
So, Danny, let me ask you this, honestly, because this kind of feels like it's part of the joke at this point. What happens next time when Marshy actually shows up?
Oh, my kids would be like locking doors,
Like,
who's this guy with the mustache?
Who the hell is here on Christmas?
Get this
Marshy
guy.
shows up, decked out from head to toe.
It depends, though. If he had a handful of presents, come on in.
Yeah,
But you didn't ask him for presents. You
we
said,
would
"Just come
love
over."
you. Oh, he'd have to bring something,
Maybe he'd bring I don't know. a housewarming gift for?
Yeah, I would
Just
have brought
bring
a
some
present.
food, or bring a couple presents for the kids.
Yeah.
It'd have been fine.
man.
Come on
I
in,
just think it'd be
Marshy.
hilarious because you inviting him to all these things, not expecting it, and then you're roaming around in your robe and your slippers because that's when you walk around the house.
Oh, yeah, my smoking jacket.
Yeah, and then you get the bing bong.
You're like, oh, crap, he's here.
I'm here.
February is a busy time in the old McLaughlin household. I think we have 3 birthdays, and you got Valentine's Day. So, Marshy, you're invited to the birthday parties, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's
Come on over.
Day. Okay.
Yeah. Bring a gift, but not for my wife.
I was going to say, I feel like Marshy showing up with one Valentine just for your wife would be really funny content.
Be a little awkward.
Totally awkward, and I'm here for it. Totally here for it.
Speaking of food, though, I ate way too much food this weekend.
What's your favorite food at holiday time, Marshy? Because
you can't
obviously
go
with
wrong with
Thanksgiving is turkey. Like, we get that, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's got a different version for the holidays / Christmas.
Turkey, ham
I
for
really like
Thanksgiving.
and we my family does this every year, but we do a breakfast casserole.
Okay.
And some cinnamon rolls.
Okay.
That's like
I get behind that.
our go-to thing for the morning. So I got to go with that. I mean, that's a staple with my family. So I gotta give credit to. Well, actually, my mom didn't make it this year. My sister-in-law did.
Ooh,
so it was pretty good. Oh, it was super good.
Yeah, that's the right
It was
answer.
really good. So.
You get along with the sister-in-law, buddy? You better
yeah.
say yes.
Well, my brother, they've been together since high school. So
That's not an answer.
Yeah.
well,
Think it's-
we get along great.
There you go. Danny,
get
what's the
along
food
great.
of choice for you guys over at the McLaughlin household?
we did a brunch.
Did you?
Yeah, we did a brunch.
Did you have Gordon Ramsay come in and cook it for you?
No, we did not.
I could see you doing that.
We did actually on Christmas Eve. We went to El Belago downstairs.
Ooh.
It was nice. Had great dinner on Christmas Eve, and then we celebrate Christmas. Santa comes. We open up presents on Christmas morning, and then went over to my brother's. He had a big brunch set up and hung out. After that, went home, watched a bunch of football, and it was a good day. Good
Awesome.
day.
We did. What's become a thing in the last couple of years is my girlfriend Ashley does a crepe bar. So it's a brunch. So we have hash browns, we have all the other like brunch stuff, but the main character is crepes.
What is a crepe?
So it's like a really, really thin pancake. Like it's like a tortilla, but like even thinner. And you cook it and you pull it out and you just fill it with like there's cream cheese filling, there's fruit, there's all sorts of things you can put in there. You can make it an egg, ham, and cheese inside of it. Like it's basically like Subway.
So what's your go-to?
So, well, yeah, because then you pick your bread,
Subway.
and then you go through the line and like figure out what you
Right.
want on it. You can kind of do the same thing at the Rivers household. And my go-to is the first one's always scrambled eggs, ham, and cheese inside of there, and then the next one will be like blueberries and strawberries with like some whipped cream in there too. Then we get nasty at that point.
So you double down.
Yeah.
A couple
yeah.
different trips during
Well, they're
the
not real
brunch line.
filling, but they're good. And then I'm a sucker for hash brown patties. But they have to
good.
be cooked right. They can't be soggy. They got to be a little crisp.
I like it. Well, I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that was our go-to.
I had when I went to Quebec for Pee Wee Quebec back in the day, my billet family made blueberry crepes, and so they weren't like the crepes you're getting like maybe here or whatever. Like we're talking authentic Quebec crepes.
That's good
It was
stuff.
unbelievable. It changed my life, and I haven't had crepes as good as that since.
Well, it sounds like everybody had a great holiday. Hopefully our listeners have had a great holiday. Hopefully they're at home right now and not having to work like us losers are today.
But we're together.
Yeah, but we're together. It's fine.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
We're
I
a
mean,
support
It's
group.
great.
That's
You know?
what happens, though, in this business. You're going to work holidays. You're going to work
They didn't tell me that.
the week off
When I
between
signed
Christmas
up, Dan,
and New
they
Year's.
did not tell me I'd be working holidays.
You didn't sign up for that?
No, I would have renegotiated.
Well, you always work during the holidays, though. You're a hockey player.
This is true. So I thought in my post-career work, I wouldn't have to do that crap anymore.
You never thought that you and I'd be hosting a show together. You were in uniform, and I'm sitting there running around the rink trying to get guys to actually talk to me.
Oh, yeah. Danny, you should have seen Danny Mac.
But you were go-to, buddy.
He was bronzed up. He had the hair perfect, nice suits. Danny Mac just looking fly.
Just ready to go.
Ready to go,
Ready
baby.
to get a bunch of sweat on me in between periods. It was all good.
We got a lot of sports to get into. especially over the weekend. We have a great bowl game going on between Minnesota and Bowling Green
Yeah,
that we'll put up here in a second.
It's epic.
Yeah, we need to get that on the screen.
Yeah, no, we're good.
I mean, there's certain people
I'd
that
rather
have
watch paint dry,
a
thanks.
vested interest in that game.
The friends.
Yeah, they're called parents. All right, he's Danny Mac, Jamie Rivers here, Andrew Marsh. We've got you for, the next 4 hours or 3 hours and 45 minutes at this point. We get back, you're going to talk about the Blues and that epic comeback the other night against the old Blackhawks here on 101 ESPN. Welcome back here to the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Dan McLaughlin, Andrew Marsh coming at you. And guys, I did not see that coming the other night.
What, 5 unanswered?
My gosh, from a team that has struggled to come back in games, to say the least, from a team that really has only won the bulk of their games by scoring first and then hanging on for the victory, you ended up down 5-2 to the Blackhawks, which is already right there. They're one of the worst teams in the league. You're down 5-2 at home, night before the holidays start for your break. Connor Bedard does a Michigan goal, stuffs it where. Top shelf, that is, Dan.
Got it.
And then you come back and you win 7-5.
With a power play goal, too.
2 of them.
That's what I love to see, is that you had a power play goal, and they're second from the bottom in the NHL in the power play, which has improved under Drew Bannister.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten better. They're getting more shots. To me, it's more of a power play that can do some damage. And they get that with, 5 unanswered goals in about 13 minutes, 2 in 23 seconds to tie it up, and 2 of the goals scored on the power play.
The energy in that building was incredible. You don't get to be a part of those types of games a lot. And being down in between the benches, and when they were scoring goals, like the place, man, like just bam, the noise and the energy. And it's like the building could feel this happening. They get down by 3, then they narrow it to 2, and then they score again. And at that point, you're like, I said it to our truck guys, because we can talk to them, as you know, Dan. I said, they're going to win this game in regulation. It was like it's a stretch at that point, but you just could feel the momentum building. And when they scored those 2 goals to get within 1, like you just knew they were coming back. I felt that way.
Have you been on the ice or seen in person what Bedard did? The Michigan goal.
Oh, yeah. I saw it. It was about 45 feet from me, Dan.
It was unbelievable, man.
So what's unique about the way he did the Michigan goal, as they call it, and people can go YouTube the Michigan goal, and they'll show you a whole bunch of different guys doing it, but the original version is where you put your stick flat on top of the puck and you kind of scoop it up by putting pressure on it and then just kind of scooping it up, and then you put it into the top shelf. He gracefully just skated and just put his stick just under the puck as it like calmly just flopped onto his stick, and he stuffed it top shelf. Like, the soft touch that you have to do that is incredible, let alone in game situation. Now, it's one thing to do in practice. I try.
Guys do it all the time.
Yeah, but to do it in a game under pressure was pretty wild to see.
The dude is 18.
Yeah.
He's 18 years old and doing these kind of things. I'm sitting there watching the game, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 18 years old prior to that goal. Watched him now twice against the Blues, and I'm seeing a kid with more poise than anybody on the ice when he's on the ice. He's awesome. He's great for the game. It's great for him to be in Chicago, even though he's a Hawk. And I know that'll upset Blues fans, but you're in a major market and you want to show him off to the rest of the world. You're getting your chance to do it with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, and he can do all the Michigan goals he wants, because at the end of the day, all I care about is the victory.
Yep, 7-5.
And that's what happened. And, Marshy, I know you watch a lot of Blues hockey. The power play that has been scoring for the Blues recently is the second unit. Mm-hmm. The second unit now has 4 goals. The last 4 goals on the power play that the Blues have scored was the second power play unit. So the first power play unit is getting some better looks, as they call it. That's like chances.
Got it.
They have fancy words now.
Chances.
Looks are what used to be chances.
You need to get into analytics in hockey.
Tracking. It used to be back checking. There's a lot of things that, climbing.
You're not using those on the broadcast, though.
No, I'd stick pretty old school.
You stick old school,
yeah.
So people actually understand it.
I just don't understand all the changing of the terminology. Like, nothing has changed. But anyways, you know what? I digress. Let's get back on track here. The power play for the Blues, the second unit, has kept it very simple. 1 pass, 2 pass, shot on net. That Brandon Saad goal was incredible.
It was awesome. Yep.
And like Kevin Hayes on that one there was actually just making a pass. So, like when Sidney Crosby makes that play, usually it's Chris Letang at the point, and he'll fire a slap shot on the ice. And Sidney Crosby will do that little heel tip into the net because it's got a lot of zip to it. This one here, Kevin Hayes made a nice firm pass, but it wasn't a shot. So for Saad, not only did he deflect it, he almost had to scoop it back that way. and it got behind the goal. It was a beautiful goal. I mean, really high-skilled play by Brandon Saad on that one. And then where do you get rewarded on the power play?
Right in front of the net.
Jake Neighbors. Justin Falk just shoots the puck at the net. It goes off of Jake Neighbors' pant into the net. It's like you try to tell these guys all the time. I know not me personally, but Drew Bannister, Craig Berube, Ken Hitchcock, whoever's a coach behind the bench, go to the front of the net. Guys get rewarded in front of the net. It happens. It's going to go off your butt. It's going to go off your leg. It's going to go off the goalie. It's going to whatever. And Jake Neighbors, who has been consistently rewarded this year by going to the front of the net, the young man has figured it out. Marshy, what would you say has happened with Jake Neighbors?
I think he was given the answers to the test, and he just ran with it, and that's exactly...
Damn, that's good stuff, Marshy.
That's exactly what he's doing, and I think a lot of players try...
So he's cheating, is what you're saying.
No,
Dan. The test, you're allowed to use the answers if you bring them.
All right.
Some guys,
it's an open note test.
Yeah,
and some people, they don't prepare. They don't take the notes. They just show up willy-nilly and they wing it, which can work sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think with Jake Neighbors, and you see a lot of people in the league, I feel like they try and do too much, and sometimes it comes back to bite them. I think Jake Neighbors has shown this season that just sticking to what the coaches have been telling them and just playing a simple game will bring success, and that's what we're seeing this season from him.
And so we get a good question here. By the way, you can chime in anytime today. Please do, about anything. The Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646. We get a good one here from the 314. It says, could Jamie address how close the Michigan goal by Bedard was to being a high stick, and whether that's a callable type of play on that one? One, the new high stick in the NHL is based upon the player. So if a player has contact with the puck above his shoulders, it's a high stick. And Connor Bedard would, he's obviously taller than the crossbar. Mm-hmm. And so at no point was that puck actually up above his shoulders.
Well, let me ask you this.
So it's not a callable goal.
So what if he would have clanked it off the crossbar and continues to move up with the stick? So you understand what I'm saying?
There's a puck in the net, or
no. He clanks it off so he completes trying to put it into the net.
Yep.
Okay. But in doing that, clanks it, and the stick then continues to move up. Do you follow what I'm saying here?
Is the stick making contact with the puck as it's moving up?
That's a good point.
It only has to make contact with the puck.
Okay, I got you.
So I can skate around the ice with my stick 100
waving
feet in the air. Doesn't matter until I hit somebody over the head with it or I hit the puck.
Okay.
And
all right.
At that point, then it's a high stick.
You're going to see that highlight about 1,000 times between now and the end of his career. I mean, that is his signature goal right now.
There's a lot of guys, these young guys coming in are doing it.
Trevor Zegras did it the same night.
And he did the same
Two
night.
Michigan goals in one night.
And it's like his third or fourth time doing it in a game, too, Trevor Zegras.
You know who's kind of getting overlooked, at least in my mind, is Robert Thomas. He's got 32 points now at even strength, and he shows up every single night and gives you the honest effort that you always hear in hockey, but he's putting up points, man. He's playing well, and this is the kind of guy that they expected when they gave him that deal.
Yeah, they certainly did. He is playing very well. He has been your most consistent player for the last 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, without question. Get another text here, and I should have addressed this. It's my fault. From the 636 is, why is it called a Michigan goal? So it's a great question. It's actually a guy I played hockey with.
Was it in 96? Does that sound right? Something like that? Mid-90s?
Yeah, so his name was Mike Legg.
Mike Legg.
And Legger and I played on the Team Canada U17 team as teammates, and Legger was doing this stuff in practice. And he goes, I'm going to do this one time in a game. I swear. He was like, we didn't know if he was going to do it in the tournament that we were playing in or whatever. And then a couple of years later, he's attending Michigan University, and he scoops that thing up and puts it in the top corner. And from that point on, it was called the Michigan goal. Yeah. I still think it should be called the Legger.
I do too. He's the one that did it.
He's the original guy. He should get some credit. Like, the university shouldn't get the credit. Not that I have anything against Michigan University. I don't care. But the player. Like, how many times there's something in a game or in life where we name it after a person because it's like their thing. Should be the Mike Lager, should be the Lager goal.
I thought it was cool. Andy Strickland is interviewing the Great One, and the Great One says, Wayne Gretzky, even I can't do that.
Yeah, he can't. Maybe he can't now.
Now,
Gretzky could have done anything he wanted back in the day. If that was something that was popular,
he would have figured
Gretzky
it
would have
out.
been the best at it.
Yep.
Let's just be honest.
Speaking of Gretzky, I saw a great story about him. Maybe I'll bring it up in What's Trending, but he was on the Spit and Chicklets podcast talking about the Russian team.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll save that for What's Trending, but it's a great story, Dan.
So was it the Canada Cup Russian team?
Yeah, 1987.
Yeah. Oh, they were awesome. They
Imagine
were
Gretzky
awesome.
and Lemieux were on the same line.
I know. There's a great call with Dan Kelly from that, and John's father, with Gretzky, Lemieux, and I cannot remember Howardchuk was on that line.
Larry Murphy was up there. Oh, yeah. I remember watching it in my parents' living room.
I think Paul
guess
Coffey,
it was my living room at the same time.
Paul Coffey may have been on the ice for that, too. It was one of the great goals I've ever seen ever in hockey. Ever.
That moment, all of Canada celebrated.
And when you walk in...
Every household in my neighborhood was bumping.
And you walk into the Hockey Hall of Fame, the first thing that you hear is that goal call. It's awesome because of the players that were together. Namely, though, as you mentioned, it's Gretzky and Lemieux.
Yeah.
Two of the best ever. But that was so awesome to hear that.
Lots of fun. That's Dan McLaughlin, Jamie Rivers here, Andrew Marsh on the dials. We're going to dive into the NFL this week, and we're going to talk about the Pick'em Challenge that, we won again. Let that sink in, Rizzuto Show. Right here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues beat the Blackhawks over the weekend by a final score of 7-5. They'll be back in action tomorrow night taking on the Dallas Stars. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. And you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We'll talk with Joe Vitale in the 4 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for that. Once again, Blues Stars tomorrow night right here on 101 ESPN. We have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl tonight for you on 101 ESPN. Pregame starting at 7:30. And then last night, to end Week 16 of the NFL season, the Ravens defeated the 49ers 33-19. We're going to dive into Week 16 of the NFL with our Pick'em Challenge Roundup. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Football Pick'em Challenge on 101 ESPN.
Refreshed by Bud Light.
Well, you sure know how to pick 'em.
Welcome back here to the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. The time is 2:36 p.m. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. All right, guys. We won another week in the Pick'em Challenge. Rizzuto show anything that they were clinging to before with their horrible math and cheating ways is just completely done now at this point.
You rub it into him, Jamie, or you just let it go?
I try to.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I definitely rub it into
Of course you do.
Absolutely.
We're setting you up.
Yeah.
Of course
They
you
like
do.
it.
They probably do. They're
They
getting
do.
all the promotion by being bad on the Pick'em Challenge here on 101 ESPN.
I like the way they've just given up for, 2 years in a row now? 3 years?
Did they really?
Yeah, they just give up. I mean, that's the only explanation for being so bad.
Did you watch a lot of football this weekend?
I was thoroughly confused with everything. I did watch a lot of football, but I was, again, I don't know if anybody's surprised at the fact that I lost track of what day it was because of the break and the Blues game, and then all of a sudden there's games on Saturday, and I'm like, what is it? And then the next day it's like, oh, it's games on Sunday.
You got Thursday night football. You got Saturday night now this late in the season because college is done. You got Sunday, and then you got Monday night football.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong. It's just I was trying to keep track of it all. Either way, we picked up the victory, and overall in the weekend, guys, what was your biggest surprise? Which game got you and you went, okay, this changes my opinion about this team?
I think you got to go Ravens, San Francisco last night, Baltimore. I think now Lamar Jackson will be the MVP of the NFL. Brock Purdy throwing 4 INTs.
Oof, that was a tough look.
You got Lamar Jackson. I was looking at this with the Vegas odds. MVP odds. Lamar Jackson now, Christian McCaffrey, Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Allen, and Brock Purdy drops to all the way number 5.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a game. I mean, it was a hell of a game for the Ravens. And right before halftime, 3rd and 16, you look at Lamar Jackson, scrambles for a first down. That led to a field goal. And this is against the NFL's number 2 defensive unit. The other problem, I think, with the game is that San Francisco now is banged up. When you look at all the injuries that they had, they're going to be suffering from some of those, and they, for the most part, have been healthy throughout the season. They had a stretch where they were 0-3 and had injuries, but now it's a different story, and I think Baltimore is the favorite after last night to win the whole thing.
I think Lamar Jackson has only lost 1 game to an NFC team in his entire career. So if this team can make it to the Super Bowl, I mean, they have to be the Super Bowl favorites right now because we put a lot on the 49ers as the best team in the NFL, and they laid an egg. They laid an egg last night. And Sam Darnold came in and scored a touchdown. I thought, hey, you could throw anybody in that offense and they could score, except for Brock Purdy. He was not good last night.
Tough game for the young man, but I still believe San Francisco is the best team in the league. They certainly weren't the best team on the football field last night. I thought the Ravens did a fantastic job of throwing enough confusion at Brock Purdy. And the young man was also a victim of a couple of deflected passes, too, to where receivers didn't get the hands on the ball right. It bounced off of them. Defensive guy, he earned a couple of those interceptions, but a couple of them, too, his teammates helped him out with that, which sucks because the quarterback has no, all you see is the 4 INTs. They don't have the explanations beside each one of them.
For sure. And one of the things, too, that stands out for me as we head down the stretch is the parity in the league. You got 23 teams that are still mathematically alive. 23. And right now, San Francisco in a 3-way tie with Philly and Detroit. However, they're 9-1 in the conference. So to your point, they played great. And they've got wins over the Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Rams. So they're in the driver's seat to be the number 1 seed.
So the other surprise for me, and I don't know what to make of it, was the Raiders beating the Chiefs. It's not that they beat them. For me, it's the way it all went down. Patrick Mahomes did not have a good game. And I'm starting to wonder, Marshy and Danny, is there a new curse in this world? We had the Madden curse, right? The cover of the Madden. Oh, no, don't want to do that. Oh, that's a curse. Guys get hurt.
Yeah, you get the Stalter stack up.
The Stalter stack up being the number 10 team is definitely not the good spot to be in. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Netflix quarterback series is the
that's
new
a good
curse.
one. Hadn't thought of that one.
Marcus Mariota literally just disappeared off the face of the earth after that show. Now he's back up again somewhere in the league. Can't remember where.
Philly.
There you go. So it didn't help him. Kirk Cousins had a season-ending injury, so it didn't help him. And now Patrick Mahomes is having his worst season, I think, ever. Way to go, Netflix.
How about the fact, I'm curious what you think of this, being a former athlete and watching Kelsey throw his helmet. Mahomes is screaming at his offensive line. He's screaming about plays that aren't getting in on time. Those are your 2 big guys. And when your leaders are doing that, the message that it sends to the rest. If you saw that, you saw Wayne Gretzky come on. You probably saw some of this behind the scenes, just not where the cameras caught it. That's the difference in when guys go nuts and they're doing it in front of the cameras and in front of all the fans.
There's been a lot of uncharacteristic behavior from this team this year. We go back a couple weeks ago to the whole Patrick Mahomes complaint about the refs and all that stuff, and Andy Reid, and then, Kadarius Toney just can't catch a ball, period, and then Travis Kelce, and the sideshow that's come along with Travis Kelce. I'm not blaming his relationship for any of the problems that they're having. I'm not. But it's brought way more attention to the team. So if the team is not as successful and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes say no, that all eyeballs are on these games and they're not playing well, that's where a lot of the frustration comes too. You're almost embarrassed. You're so angry that you're embarrassed because millions of people that weren't watching before are now watching because Taylor Swift is in the house. I know that sounds silly, but it feels like you're under the microscope a lot more when you have that kind of popularity following your games.
Mahomes now 14 interceptions. 14. And yesterday, he averaged 5 yards per attempt. He had only 3 completions that went over 10 yards. That's not Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is going to make plays with his arm. Now, he did scramble a bunch, showed off the legs, especially in the second half, but that's just not him, man. He's got a deep threat usually, and he'll go over the middle with Kelce.
That offense just doesn't look anything like a Chiefs offense.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because he doesn't trust his receivers.
Well, that could be a big part of it.
It's as simple as that.
Even Travis Kelce had a couple of drops yesterday.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you see Jack Jones intercept Pat Mahomes, and he was staring him down as he ran into the end zone and then went to give the ball to a Chiefs fan?
Yeah, didn't like that.
So, he ended up coming out and said that I didn't snatch the ball from the kid. It was some dude who was trying to take it from the kid, so he snatched it away. Either way, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. That kid is going to hate him and hate the Raiders for the rest of his life, and that will build character for that rivalry.
I thought you were going to say build character for that young boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, for the kid, he's going to hate the Raiders.
These are tough at the Marshy house.
We're talking about rivalries these days. I don't know if there's, really great rivalries as much as there were in the early 2000s. I think right now that kid, he's not going to be a fan of the Raiders.
I think the hardest championship to get is the Stanley Cup. You get absolutely beat up for 2 months. It's crazy. I got to wonder if with the Chiefs, if the schedule and what they've done over the last couple of years is catching up with them.
Could be a lot of extra football, a lot of bonus ball.
Absolutely.
I feel like you'll take that, though, if you're winning championships.
Well, you will. And the Lightning, when we were just down there talking to a lot of their guys and some of their coaching staff and their general manager, he said, yeah, you know what? We played so much playoff hockey that we almost needed a longer summer. And he goes, it sounds terrible to say, oh, you need to be eliminated. But he's like, these guys were beat up, man. So it does take a toll on you.
Do you think that the Chiefs are out of it and when it comes to the Super Bowl? Like, do you think they don't have a shot? Because I still think they do.
I don't think they get out of the AFC.
You don't think so?
I don't see that team beating the Ravens.
No, I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl, but I could still see them turning things around really quickly. Last year, the Eagles, they didn't look that great. How are they going to turn it around,
Marshy?
I don't know. They just flip a switch. I mean, this team can, though. If there's one team that I think can just flip the switch.
Can they do it with the current roster that they have, though? That's the only problem I have.
I didn't think they could do it last year, though, with the roster that they had.
Yeah. They can't get the top spot. So Patrick Mahomes has to go on the road.
Yeah.
He's never played a road playoff game. Ever. Patrick Mahomes.
No.
So they've got to go on the road.
We'll find out what he's made of.
Won't be assured a top spot. They've got the Bengals and the Chargers left. Those are winnable games.
Yeah, absolutely.
We thought this past week, though, was a winnable game.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll get into more of the NFL scores and results here somewhere in the show. We'll plop that back in there because we really only got the two games, although there were two really good games. We come back, we're going to talk about the Blues and where they are right now following the holiday and where we think they might be able to go moving forward here with a lot of home games on the menu for them. That's right here on 101 ESPN. It's a Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Time to dive into the Blues here a little bit. We talked about it earlier. We talked about their unbelievable comeback against the Blackhawks. And, I'm just wondering for you guys, what's up for the Blues? Like, what's next for the Blues? Like, where they are currently in the standings to where you think they might go, where do you guys see this whole thing headed?
So they're 17, 15, and 1 going into the Christmas break. That's 9th in the Western Conference. Puts them on pace for 87 points. I think we know more about the Blues and the impact of Drew Bannister in the next 8 games. You've got Dallas, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Vancouver, Carolina, Florida, the Rangers, and Boston. It's a gauntlet.
It's a gauntlet. Now, the good thing about this is that you've got 7 of those 9 games are at home. So you've had a pretty tough go. I know this because I was traveling with the team. You're on the road a lot here to begin the season.
November was brutal.
It was tough. And your record at home right now is 10-5. So you're 5 games above 500 while skating on home ice. So it's 7 of 9 at home over the next stretch. That could be the difference maker for the Blues.
And that's what I'm saying. If they play well against these teams, I just think you get a better idea of where they're at because it's a measuring stick against some of the better teams in the league. It's been an interesting, 3-4 months. You had the trade of Bertuzzo. You had Verana sent to the minors. You fire the head coach. Cairo is booed. I mean, there's been some ups and downs along the way, but here you are, 9th in the Western Conference, kind of where you thought you might be.
Yeah, you're 1 point out of a playoff spot right now. And, I think, to start the season, Doug Armstrong, as well as myself, thought the Blues could be 3rd in the division. I don't think anybody saw the Winnipeg Jets doing what they're doing right now. For the Jets to be 29-3 is unbelievable.
I thought they were going to take a step back.
I totally thought the same thing. In fact, I thought Hellebuck and Scheifele, like this would be their last year. They're going to play it out. They'll be traded at the deadline and all this stuff. There was a pivot. They re-signed those guys long-term. Everybody's bought in. Rick Bowness has that team playing hard. Rick Bowness went through some personal stuff, too. His wife was having seizures, and he had to leave the team to be with her, which obviously is understandable, but still a tough situation for the team. And all they did is keep winning. They had no fans showing up at the start of the season. The owner was getting some heat, and all they did is keep winning. And so now they've solidified themselves at the top of the division. So now the fight for the Blues is for the wild card spot. The Predators, who have played 1 extra game than the Blues, sit at 38 points. The Coyotes, with even number of games, sit at 36 points, and the Blues right there at 35 points.
I want to see what you think of this. I had 5 things that I thought needed to happen under Drew Bannister, or just a look at what he needed to do, or vice versa, the players. Number 1, clean slate, 11 players on the Blues roster suited up for Bannister in the AHL. Give them a clean slate. Don't have any preconceived notions of what's happening here. Tough to do. We're all human. We're going to have preconceived notions, but he's let those guys go. Vets have to buy in. Braden Schen's your captain. He leads you, but the vets have to buy in. Faster starts. I think we've seen better starts by the Blues, in particular, second period. Get the most out of Cairo. I think he's playing better. And then get the power play going. That's an obvious one, and that has improved. But those are 5 things that I looked at when he took over.
So there's one thing that's happened since he's taken over that I think might be the ultimate difference maker for this team. And it happened in Tampa Bay.
The worst game that's been under Bannister.
Bannister benched Pavel Buchnevich for 12 and a half minutes. The last 12 and a half minutes of the game. Pavel Buchnevich came on the air with us following the game against Florida, to which they had a bounce back. Team played better. Buch played better. That line put in some goals, had some points, some great stuff. And Buch literally says, I deserved it. I sucked. His exact words. He doesn't mince words. And he owned it, and then came back and played hard and played good. There's 2 directions that scenario could have gone in. 1, the way it did, or 2, you lose the team. Because Pavel Buchnevich is a guy that is a 200-foot player. He plays offense, defense, physical. He does everything you want from your player. And if he would have just shut down or started to badmouth the coach or cause like problem in the locker room, say, oh, you really going to bench me? I'm one of the only guys that shows up every freaking night. I have a bad night and you bench me? Like, had he taken that avenue, the wheels may have fallen off this team, but he didn't. So credit to Pavel Buchnevich for taking that moment and turning it into something that could galvanize the group. Because now when Drew Bannister goes down the line and benches Thomas or Kyrou or Shen or Saad, whoever it is, how can they possibly be pissed off at that point? Well, what? I benched Bush. He didn't care. What? You're better than him? You're bigger than the team? No, you can't say a word now.
What's it say, Jamie, when you have a 2-goal deficit against Dallas, 3-goal deficit against Chicago, where they'd shown prior to that no signs of coming back in games, and all of a sudden they're starting to do that? What's that say when you're watching the games?
It tells me that it's a group of guys that are willing to compete and play the entire game.
Yeah.
It's not the guys give up. People say, oh, they gave up. They don't give up. But you start to get frustrated and you start to make plays that are uncharacteristic. And then as the frustration grows, you do things that are even less productive out there. So it looks like you're giving up or that you're not trying. That's not the case. But this group, since the coaching change, has been very, very resilient. They haven't given up. The shoulders haven't dropped. The body language hasn't changed. They don't do, oh, we're down by 2 goals. It's like the blank you moment now. We're down by 10. I don't care. We're going to come back.
The other thing, too, Bennington stole you points early. I mean, that when you look at where they're at to be just outside of a playoff spot, if he's not as good as he was early, they're not in this spot. I mean, they could be easily 8-10 points out of a playoff spot.
100%. And one thing, too, to remember, even though Jordan Binnington gave up 5 goals last game, and
that's why I said early.
Yeah, no, but even that, but go back if you want. If people want to go back and watch the game, when it became 5-5, when it actually was more like 5-4, Blues were making a comeback. Jordan Binnington made saves. He made saves that you needed in order to complete the comeback. So that's a page out of Grant Fuhr's book right there, because Grant Fuhr, look, he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame with a save percentage under 900. It tells you that, it's a lot of goals, right? But no, go look at the saves he made to win games and to win championships. And Jordan Binnington, that's what happened the other night. Gave up 5, kept his head screwed on straight, and then when the team needed big saves from him in a moment where they were trying to complete the comeback, he made those saves. He made the saves, and you go on to win the game.
What's Bannister been like to be around him? He looks pretty cool, collected, changed some things on the ice, clearly.
Yep.
Changed a little bit with the lines. Power play's been better. What's it like being around him?
He's great. So, Danny, I don't know if you know this. I've known Drew since I was 15 years old.
I did know that, yeah.
And so I played against him a ton in junior hockey, played against him in the NHL, knew his mother extremely well. She was the one lady at our school that took care of us, all the hockey guys. We'd miss 2 or 3 days because of road trip. We'd come back.
That's awesome.
She'd have our homework and all that stuff. So Mrs. Bannister played a part in my life as well. And what I see from Drew is a very mature coach right now. It's not that he wasn't before, but you can see that he's got miles on him. He's learned a lot about how he wants to coach a team and how he wants his players to play. He's soft-spoken. So he's not the guy that comes in and just drops F-bombs and doing all stuff. No, he's more like a professor almost. Comes in, explains exactly what it is, but he's very assertive. There's no gray area. He's very black or white. He's actually a lot like Chief when it comes to players knowing where they stand. Now, there's some obvious differences. Chief's a lot more of an imposing type of coach, and he'll come in and drop a few F-bombs and do his thing there. And it's not to say that Bannister won't, but it's just not his style. And so what he's been able to do is come in and just teach. And he's grabbing guys, and he's showing video, and he's teaching. And right now, guys are absorbing that, and that's why it's paying off.
And when you have that type of demeanor, when he does decide to get a little fiery, that's when the players are like, oh, crap, like we need to dial it in here.
Yep.
Is that the difference between him and Chief?
Yeah, it's just, look, it's like having parenting by 2 awesome parents, but they just do it different ways.
Right.
And that's really what it is, because a head coach in any sport is a parent, a psychologist, a friend, an enemy. They're all the above.
I guarantee at some point he's going to lose it. But when he loses it, it's going to have more of an effect because he hasn't lost it yet.
Yeah.
And when you finally lose it, man, it makes the room go, uh-oh,
Yep.
and it gets your attention. Because if you do it all the time, guys just block it out.
Right.
They just say, I don't need to hear this again and again and again. But you do it that one time, it resonates.
It does. It does. And what I think, too, just regarding the whole thing is just that he's put his time in. He knows what he's talking about. He's very sure as to what he wants this team to look like. And, the message really has been a lot of carryover from what Craig Berube believed in, too. And that's just a sign of having good coaching, consistent good coaching. Whether he had to let Chief go or not, you knew it was good coaching, good message, a great guy. And now you move on to Drew Bannister, and he's continuing the message along, expecting compete out of his players. It's very much the tone. The overall thought process is similar. It's just a little bit of a different voice.
To me, he looks businesslike. He's just very businesslike, calm, collected, knows what he wants to do, knows how he wants to get the message across, like with Buchnevich, and then doesn't hold that against him. It was like a situation where he goes and talks to the player has respect, okay, we move on. Yeah. And that's all you can ask from a player's perspective.
And he's had confidence in the players, too. Just like when Craig Berube took over for Mike Yeo, Craig Berube's first press conference, I'll never forget it, said, look, these are good players. This is a good team. We haven't played well, but this is a good team. Go back the other night, 2 nights ago, Drew Bannister. He says the same thing. These are good players, man. They're playing well right now for us. This is what they're capable of doing. It means a lot for a player when you hear the coach coming in and he corrects you, holds you accountable, all that stuff, but then the praise is there too. You can't just kick someone in the bells all the time. Mm-hmm. Every now and then they need a hug.
And regardless of where they go from here, the one thing it's done is buy the front office time. When you go 4-1 and you have 2 comeback wins, mm-hmm. and the place is rocking on the 23rd, whatever day that was, since we didn't figure it out in the beginning. That buys you a little time. Yep. Now he might stay in the position he's in, and he could be here for a while. But it did buy you time, and that's the one thing I look at too. It's been the perfect start of what he could possibly want, and the front office wants in a brief amount of time.
Yeah, to your point, don't know how long it'll last, but he's doing a great job right now, and hopefully he does a great job and solidifies himself as the head coach moving forward. But the team looking a lot better, 4-1 under Coach Drew Bannister so far. Guys, we talked about this a couple of minutes ago, just in passing, but did Brock Purdy lose the MVP last night? We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. San Francisco 49ers took a beating last night by the Baltimore Ravens. And one of the biggest things that stood out in this game, apart from Lamar Jackson having a fantastic game himself, Brock Purdy struggled. I mean, he absolutely struggle bust in that game last night. Had a tough go, interceptions. Wasn't pretty. Wasn't Purdy. Get it?
Got it.
Yep.
Good.
And there was some talk about Brock Purdy being the MVP candidate. And I got behind it. I did. I thought to myself, you know what? Why not? People always, the systems quarterback. He still has to make the pass. He still has to make the play. He still has to read the defense when they come up to the line of scrimmage. He still has to call the audibles. All this stuff. Like if it was, Anthony Stalter brings this up a lot too. He says if Brock Purdy was a first rounder, we would absolutely be talking about him being the MVP.
That's a good point.
But he wasn't. So we unfairly categorized him. Let's try that. Buy a vowel, please. And we put him at the bottom of the pile because he's a systems quarterback because he was a 7th rounder, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft. Last night he was Mr. Relevant for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, 4 picks.
Woof. He had 18 to 32, 255 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
You know, the thing I look at in watching the game last night is Lamar and his ability to scramble. I mean, there are very few guys in the National Football League that could do what he did last night. Right before halftime, they had a 3rd and 16. He scrambles for a first down. That leads to a field goal.
That was huge.
And this is against the NFL's number 2 unit in scoring average. Now, they have the longest winning streak currently in the National Football League. They had blowout wins against Jacksonville, Detroit, and Seattle, all playoff teams right now. And if they beat the Dolphins this weekend, they'll clinch the number 1 seed and a first-round bye in the AFC for the playoffs. So when you look at, it's always the debate, is the player the best team or best player on his team that wins, or are you just the best player in the league? And I think you make a case that he's both.
Both, yeah.
Lamar?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think last night was a pretty defining moment for Lamar Jackson. You know, he passes for 252 yards, but he scrambles for 45 yards. And it wasn't that he scrambled for 45 yards. It was that the yards that he got were huge. They were huge. Like in moments that you thought they've got him.
3rd and longs, things like that.
Chase Young had him. Literally had him. And all of a sudden, whoop, he disappeared.
He's breaking everybody's ankles.
And he's a hell of a runner, and he can throw the ball. And with the new offensive coordinator, it seems to have simplified and expanded everything for Lamar Jackson.
Do you guys think there's a team right now that could upset Baltimore moving forward? I mentioned that they've got the Dolphins and the Steelers left. So the Dolphins game coming up is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Where is that game? Just out of curiosity.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Might be.
Okay, I'll click on this for here. I'll find out. But you're right. The Dolphins game's going to be big. And it's in Baltimore. So it's a little bit more cold weather.
Yep.
Baltimore's a beautiful spot, but it does have winter.
And they're playing so well.
Yeah.
I mean, what also gets over, the Baltimore defense is pretty darn good. When you go on the road, you're at San Francisco, and you shut them down like they did last night, that catches your attention. Lamar catches your attention because he's flashy, but don't overlook what the Ravens were able to do to Purdy and that 49ers offense.
So I think right now in the AFC, you look at the Dolphins, obviously they're up there, but for some reason they're like the Cowboys. They can't really win on the road. You have the Chiefs who are struggling, the Jags. I don't know what is going on in Jacksonville. You have the Colts who lost to Anthony's Falcons. I thought they were playing well, but then they lost to the Falcons. There's 2 teams in the AFC. One of them, I don't want to say it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of a joke, but the Browns. The Browns just keep winning with Joe Flacco.
Team? All of a sudden, Joe Flacco is like QB1 here.
I don't know. He has a Super Bowl, so he, I feel like he knows what it takes to win.
Guys, the Browns are 10-5.
It's insane.
And they've won 3 in a row with Joe Flacco.
I don't know if I can take them seriously in the playoffs, but they're winning games right now. And then the other team is the Bills. I know the Bills barely squeaked one out against the Chargers, who just fired Brandon Staley a few weeks ago, so they're really not there. Justin Herbert's injured, but The Bills are another team that have been playing good football too. So those would be the only teams in the AFC right now that maybe could beat the Ravens. But I don't know. The Ravens are playing really good football.
Well, the Cleveland defense is awesome. They've won 3 in a row. They can secure a playoff spot if they win on Thursday against the Jets. What makes that interesting is that Joe Flacco was the backup last year in New York, and they don't re-sign him. I mean, what are they thinking? If you're the Jets, you're like, what?
Danny, he was sitting at home and he got signed to a practice roster after Deshaun Watson was declared to be, hurt for the rest of the season. And then he's been elevated from that point. But Marcia, to your point about who could legitimately beat the Ravens, there's only a couple teams. I'm going to say the Bills and the Chiefs, for me, are the only team. And I know the Chiefs have been playing not good, but I'm not going to discount the championship pedigree that team has and the coaching ability of Andy Reid to put together a game plan for one game. They just have to make sure they beat the Ravens in that game that they play them. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be a Picasso by any means. But I look at the Chiefs, I look at the Bills. And the reason I say the Bills, I don't really know what the hell the Bills are right now. I don't think they know what they are. But they're dangerous enough to beat a good team. So they barely get by that, but then they go and put the screws to a team that's really good. So it's like, what are we doing here?
So Buffalo, they hold their destiny in their own hands. So they've got, if they win out, they've got the Pats and the Dolphins. They're in. Buffalo right now is the 6th seed. You got Baltimore, Miami, Kansas City, Jacksonville, Cleveland, Buffalo, Indianapolis. And then you got 3 teams that are 8 and 7, and then 2 long shots in Vegas and Denver. But Buffalo was left for dead, and now they're in the playoffs. If they win out, it's in.
Well, Buffalo could win their division still.
Yes, there's
if
still
the
a
Dolphins
chance.
lose to the Ravens, they play each other in the final week of the season to decide who wins the AFC East. If, like you said, Dan, if Buffalo were to win out.
It's incredible.
It's wild. It'll be fun to watch either way. He's Dan McLaughlin. I'm Jamie Rivers. Andrew Marsh working the Dows. We're going to do Blues Cues coming up next. So if you have any question, blues related, that you'd like to ask myself and Danny Mac and Andrew Marsh, just text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646. Again, that's 314-399-9646. Blues Cues coming up next here on 101 ESPN. Johnny Londoff Chevrolet, by far the best place to go purchase a brand new vehicle or pre-owned vehicle. They have a tremendous amount of inventory, and the best part about Londoff right now is they've got 2 locations. They've got the original Londoff located in Florissant, Missouri, and then they got the new Londoff Autoplex located out in St. Peters, right off of Highway 70. Both locations have great inventory available. A lot of great Silverados are available right now, and Londoff Chevrolet still running their red tag sale, so get down there and see just how much money you can save on any vehicle that is down at Londoff Chevrolet. And they get online too. You can get pre-qualified. You can even line up a test drive with one of their representatives. And one thing I can tell you is that the customer service is fantastic. I have been a customer for over 25 years now. I talk about it all the time. Recently just purchased a brand new Tahoe, and it was awesome. It was just like the first time. I mean, you think the customer service, wear off at some point. It didn't. It was awesome. They walked me through everything, signed the papers, and got off the lot. And it's been awesome driving around in that Tahoe. And that's all thanks to Londoff Chevrolet and the Londoff family over there. So please stop by either location. Tell them Jamie Rivers sent you in. If you can't do that, get there online. Visit them at londoff.com or londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Johnny Londoff Chevrolet.
ESPN is your home for Blues hockey. Every month during the season, you can check out either the 101 mobile app or 101ESPN.com for your chance to get entered to win for a pair of tickets to an upcoming Blues home game at Enterprise Center. New winners picked every month throughout the season for free tickets to see the Blues in action, courtesy of 101 ESPN. Get entered to win now online at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app. Time for the Fast Lane's Blues Cues.
It's a Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. We sent it out to you for your questions, your Blues-related questions. Again, that's the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Marshy, what do we got?
All right, let's start with the 314. We were talking about the power play being a little bit better than it was earlier in the season. From the 314, what is Bannister doing different on the power play?
So a couple of things here for people to know is Doug Armstrong in his press conference the day that he relieved Coach Berube of his duties said that they had brought on Brad Richards as a power play consultant. Those who don't remember Brad Richards, who don't know who he is, go look him up. He had a lot of success in the NHL, won a couple of Stanley Cups, very offensive-minded player, very good on the power play, was a Conn Smythe winner in one of his cup runs, where we know that is the best player in all the playoffs. So he's been around just observing and offering his 2 cents where need be. But the biggest thing from my perspective is they're shooting the puck more. You know, they've changed the look of the first power play unit. Robert Thomas used to always be on his strong side, and all that means is on the side of the ice where he cannot shoot a one-timer. Some teams use that. They use that flank where the guy will skate all the way down with the puck and can try to get a shot or a pass across. That wasn't working. It just wasn't opening up opportunities for the power play. Robert Thomas wasn't able to create a lot in that spot. So whether it's Drew Bannister, Steve Ott, or Brad Richards has flipped him now to the one-timer spot, and he operates in the Ovechkin area or down low on the goal line, and each spot allows him several more options as far as creating offense. Now, they haven't scored a lot of goals, but they've had some good chances. And the second power play unit has been all about getting pucks and bodies to the net. And that has been successful for that unit. So that's the only changes I've seen.
Isn't it amazing when you get a different set of eyes sometimes? They see things in a simple fashion as opposed to when you're there every single day. You're there at practice. You're watching film of the games. You're running a power play. Sometimes you need a different set of eyes because they see things differently. I mean, they're just going to say, no, get this guy off the wall. This is where he needs to play on the other side. Like you mentioned with Robert Thomas. It's just a different set of eyes can help that out.
So I've always compared it to something, and maybe I'm crazy or foolish to do this, but you know those pictures? There's like spot 10 differences between two pictures, and you're sitting there, and you can only find 9.
Exactly.
And you're racking your brain for like 20 minutes, and you're looking at every inch, and then your buddy rolls up, and you're like, I can't find the last one. He goes, oh, you mean that one? And you're like, well, how the hell? Like, I was looking, but you're like staring right at it, but you still, even though you're in it, you don't necessarily see the problems or where you need to change. So the fresh set of eyeballs sometimes is good perspective.
It's also got to be a coaching staff that is not thin-skinned and comfortable where they're at, because you have a consultant come in and all of a sudden they start rattling off things that you're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could take that the wrong way. So give the coaching staff credit, too, for accepting what he had to say.
100%.
From the 217, should Bannister make the current PP2 the first line on the power play until the current PP1 line proves it can score?
That's a lot of PP right there, Andrew.
It certainly is. I mean, we're no stranger to it here on 101 ESPN.
No, we're not. We're not. Okay, so Drew Bannister did do that last game against Chicago. The second power play unit scored the goal, and the very next power play, and I was sitting there watching, I was like, I wonder if he'll come back with the second power play unit, because he really should. And he did. And I saw the guys firing over the boards, and he did. And you know what? That's just the accountability thing. Doug Armstrong wanted accountability for this team. Drew Bannister has preached holding guys accountable, not just individuals, but, groups of 5 in this case. And you get one power play unit that's scoring goals and creating the offense. The other one hasn't. You got to go with the hot hand. And I thought it showed a lot of guts. I thought it showed a lot of transparency, too, to where you play good, you will play.
So the question would be, does he do it going forward? Do you keep doing that?
I think what he does is he'll start next game with the same kind of setup, because now you've had a few days here to go over some things. Like, no practice today, but they'll get on the ice tomorrow. They'll do some video. They'll do other things. You can't completely rip everything away from your top players, because you got Carey, Thomas, and Buchnevich, who are by far your most dangerous offensive weapons. They have to factor into your power play. Like, you've scored a couple of goals here with the second unit. That's great. It's awesome that it's happened. But to be successful, to get that playoff spot, your top unit has got to be the one that's scoring the lion's share of power play goals. So you've got to get them there. And if you give them that 35 seconds, because that's usually what you get, 35, maybe 40 seconds when you get out there for the second half of the power play, it's not enough. You need to give them an opportunity. And if they fumble the opportunity and the second unit looks good again, then you flip-flop it. I think Drew Bannister did a great job of recognizing that moment was a perfect time to go back with the second power play unit, and it paid off.
What do you got, Marshy?
We have one. This is an interesting question. From the 636, do you think goalies will ever go back to stand-up style? It seems like there are so many goals I see go over a goalie's shoulder.
Yeah, no. There's no chance of that. Now with the butterfly style goaltending. So go back and look at the 80s and even the early 90s. You had some stand-up goalies. There were a ton of goals that were scored low on the ice. I mean, your feet aren't fast enough to consistently stop 95 to 100 miles an hour on the ice. It's just not. So you drop down into the butterfly, and with the size of the pads and the size of the guys, it takes up the whole bottom of the net.
I always find it interesting watching Binnington. Puck will go to the other side, and he stays down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He never stands, across. Just slides across.
Yeah.
And it's not even a scoring opportunity. It's just he's going to slide across, and that's how he goes about his business.
So he tracks the puck.
Yeah.
It's literally what it is. And so you won't see stand-up goaltending anymore. What you're going to just start seeing is bigger goalies. And that's what's happened. Look at the top tier of goaltenders in the NHL. Most of them are 6'3" and taller. Vasilevsky's 6'6" in that net. So when he goes down in the butterfly or down onto his knees, you still don't really have top corner available for you.
Can you go to smaller goalies, or do you think this is a trend that's going to be out of the game, so to speak, unless you're just awesome?
Smaller goalies.
Unless you're Grant Fuhr.
They're just not being drafted.
Yeah.
They're not, because you take a big goalie and you can develop that big goalie. And he takes up more of the net. I mean, it's just simple equations of how big can I put a human being in this net to show you the least amount of net. Consistently, the bigger goalie is going to stop more pucks. Now, UC Saros in Nashville's a smaller goalie. Bobrovsky's a smaller goalie. But, guys, when you can count 2 or 3 in the league, that's your answer right there.
Ben Bishop.
6'7".
Exactly.
Yeah.
Joel Hofer's a big guy,
Joel
too.
Hofer's 6'4" or 6'5".
What's Bennington?
6'3", I believe. 6'2", 6'3".
Big kid. Tall.
He's tall, yeah. He takes up a lot of the net, and a lot of these goalies now, too, they move out to the top of the paint, and it takes away even more of the net for you.
It's the angles.
It's the angles, it's the odds, it's all that stuff. So you're not going to see smaller goalies, and you're just not going to see stand-up goaltending anymore.
Were you with the Islanders at the time when they tried to bring in a bigger goaltender? Was that the Islanders that I'm thinking of?
Not while I was there. We had
Wasn't that a thing where they tried to bring in like a I don't know if this is a joke or not, but like a sumo wrestler or something?
Yeah, no. Marshy, I think you're dipping into the grandpa's cough syrup
The
a little
ayahuasca?
bit. Yeah,
A little bit.
I think you did on that one. I don't remember that.
Maybe
at
I'm
all.
thinking of the walrus.
There was a commercial.
Yeah, with pasta.
Maybe you just,
Maybe I'm thinking
your
of that.
fiction's becoming reality.
All right, we got a question from the from the 314. Jamie, who is the second best player you played against, and how far behind Gretzky was he in skill?
Oh, man. So many unbelievable players that I played against and with. Like, obviously, the first answer is Mario Lemieux. He was just phenomenal as a hockey player. Jaromir Jagr is so good. Alexei Kovalev doesn't have the bulk of points, but he was one of the hardest guys to play against. He skated so good, handled the puck. He was strong on his feet. Pavel Bure, like, these
Could
guys.
fly.
Fedorov, Yzerman, Brett Hull, like Mike Modano. The list goes on and on and on of guys I ended up playing against. It's tough.
I talked to Chris Pronger the other day, and I said, did you fear anybody? He said, of course not. He said, but there were certain guys that you watched, and he said Sergei Fedorov was one where some guys, when they get the puck, you may see them trail off just that little bit. You know what I mean? Their speed, because they're trying to control the puck. He said this guy never lost stride in his speed, that he could carry the puck and be as fast as anybody on the ice with the puck on his stick.
And so smooth.
Exactly.
So you didn't even realize how fast Fedorov was skating because his skating stride never changed. Like, you can see some guys where you see their feet pick up. Like, with Sergei Fedorov, it was the exact same stride every time. So you couldn't tell if he was skating 2 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour. And now it's really hard for a defenseman to pick up to be able to keep the gap and to close him into a bad spot. You just don't know.
One of the most amazing things I've ever seen, I was covering the Blues at the time. It's at the old Igloo, and Lemieux gets it in his own zone. Okay? And for whatever reason, McInnes was kind of pinching in or something like that. So he is hounding him. He's on his hip. Jamie, I'm not kidding. He held it for 25 seconds. Like figure eights. He's taking it out of the zone. He's keeping it on. Guys are touching up. He takes it back in.
Danny, that's in a league, too, where you could almost murder someone and get away with it.
Chopper was chopping.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're
hammering
hooking,
him.
You're holding, you're punching, you're grabbing.
It was 25 seconds.
The referees let it go.
He's doing Russian circles.
I tell you,
crazy.
Jaromir Jagr was that way for me. I'd break one stick a game on Jaromir Jagr.
Sure.
I would. Because it was so frustrating. He'd stick his big cow behind out there, and you couldn't get to him. And then he would just dangle the puck, one of the longest sticks in the league. He'd just hold it out like 30 feet away from you.
Exactly.
It's like, here, kitty, 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 kitty. And I'm like, nah.
And you can't get around him.
Can't, no. Because then
Strong
he
on his
just turn
skates.
to protect the puck. Not fun, Dan.
By the way, I found it.
Jamie.
I found it. Charles B. Wang, he was a former Islanders owner. This is from
You
Mike.
found it.
Mike Milbury, a former general manager of the Islanders. We know Mike Milbury. He recalled that Wang wanted to get rid of the team's scouts to rely on the league's central scouting system and try out sumo wrestlers as goaltenders.
Well, that explains the success rate they had
Mike
during that.
Milbury.
That was your Blues Cues here on 101 ESPN. We come back, we're going to get narrative or reality here in the Fast Lane.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues won over the weekend, defeating the Chicago Blackhawks by a final score of 7-5. They'll be back in action tomorrow, taking on the Dallas Stars. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. And you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We'll talk with Joe Vitale in the 4 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for that as well. Tonight, we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl starting at 7:30, so stay tuned for that if you're into college football. Last night, to close out the Week 16 NFL season, the Ravens defeated the 49ers 33-19. We talked about Brock Purdy potentially losing the MVP last night. If you missed anything from today's show, including that conversation, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have narrative or reality coming up next. So if you have a narrative or reality you want to send in to the Air Comfort Service text line, do so at 314-399-9646. Narrative or reality coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's a Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Dan McLaughlin, Andrew Marsh. It is time for Narrative or Reality. And you can chime in, too. The text line's always available. Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646.
All right, guys, starting this off, Jimmy Snuggerud, who's playing in the World Juniors right now for Team USA, had a nice goal early in the tournament. Jimmy Snuggerud will be with the Blues by the end of the year. Narrative or reality?
Oh, that's a narrative. Yeah,
That's what I asked you in the office.
Yeah, narrative. Young
Not a
man
chance.
is a really good player. He's got a bright future at some point in the NHL. But, things like that happen to people like Connor Bedard and Adam Fantilli. These are guys that make that jump at a young age to where you require no assistance. You get your training camp. Even then, they get a training camp. Jimmy Snuggerud coming in at the end of this season to be a part of the Blues would require him to go from college hockey to the NHL right away.
What about next year?
It's in play, right? He gets an opportunity. I think bringing him in would be a great idea. Get him some practice time, get him to see the speed of the game and be around the guys and what it takes off the ice as well. There's a lot that goes into being an NHL player that is not always what you see on the ice. And there's an understanding of systems, an understanding of coaching and things like that players could really use at a young age to get to see it, get some eyeballs on it.
I'm curious, and you work with kids, and you work with all levels of kids. The training from an NHL perspective to a high end. I mean, he's a high-end college kid. The biggest differences that you see, time commitment, what you do on the ice, off the ice, all of it. What are the biggest differences you see?
Well, when you get a college kid like that, so the college kids are, it's pretty close,
It's
man.
a job, man.
It is, and this is where, in my opinion only, is overall, I think, the college game is better for developing hockey players. And I don't just mean the games that they play and things like that. I mean, the overall feel, you're at the rink every day, and they have a nutritionist. They've got a strength and conditioning coach. They've got video rooms. They've got all of these things available now for college hockey players. Whereas junior hockey, some of those teams are still operating on smaller budgets, and the kids have to go to school, and you got to go on road trips, and you miss certain days, and they play a lot more games, too. So there's something to be said for, one, playing a few more games. But for me, the development comes mostly in practice now and developing your players off the ice as well. So I've said this to a number of people because I played junior hockey. And be like, well, you say that? Well, you played junior hockey. I did. But if you're a high-end player it makes more sense to go play junior hockey because you're going to get to the NHL faster. You'll be there at 18, 19, latest 20 because you're going to get drafted in the first couple of rounds. You're going to get an opportunity. So for me, when I was coming up, that was the quickest way to the NHL. I was drafted at 18 years old, on the NHL ice at 18 years old. I would have been barely a freshman in college at 18, just based on where, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So then what? Then I got to wait 4 more years to become an NHL player, or at least 2 back then.
It's like in MLB, one of the great training grounds that they have, the minor leagues. And football doesn't have that. Football, You're going from college, you're in the show. Hockey gives you a little time to develop. In Major League Baseball, if you go college, you're there for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's why some kids are going the junior college route. But for the most part, you're there for 3 years. You're getting drafted. And then you're in the minor leagues. I mean, it's rare when a guy jumps.
It takes an exceptional talent.
I mean, you're throwing 105.
Yeah.
And maybe making it.
And so Jimmy Snuggerud, to kind of put a bow on this, he's going to be a great player for the Blues at some point. I think it's a little further down the line, though.
Narrative or reality, the Chiefs are struggling because Eric Bieniemy is no longer there.
Oh, I think it's a reality. I do. I mean, I think you could, I don't know if there's a wrong answer in this one, but for me, with him not there and the team struggling the way they are, I have to feel like it's a reality for me. He had some kind of a connection with the offensive guys. In particular, I felt like he had a connection with Patrick Mahomes. And although Matt Nagy is there and, he was like the quarterbacks guy before and whatnot, there's still something to be said for what Eric Bieniemy did for that team. And so until they can prove to me that they can produce the same offensively without him, I have to say it's a reality.
I agree. I mean, you look at the game yesterday, the defense of the Chiefs is not the problem. They allowed 2 field goals. Problem is trying to find consistency offensively, and a lot of times you look at the NFL level, falls on a head coach, but falls on a coordinator. Mm-hmm. And if your offensive coordinator is dialed in with his QB and an offense that is fluid, then you're going to win games. And they're not fluid at all right now.
Fluid, not fast lane fluid.
No.
Okay, because there's 2 different meanings.
I understand that.
You have to make sure that you specify. Say
I'm just
they're
the fill-in,
fluid,
bro.
not fast lane fluid.
I'm just the fill-in.
Yeah. No, you're not, Dan. You're around here enough. You should know the rules by now.
What else you got, Marshy?
We have a text from the 501. Narrative or reality, Mo will be fired when the team finishes out of the playoffs again.
Well, that's if they finish out of the playoffs. And if they finish out of the playoffs, I could see John Mozeliak stepping aside. I could.
Maybe a different role with the club.
Role, like rather than firing him, because he's had a really good tenure. Love him or not, as a Cardinals fan, you have to be honest enough to say that his tenure has been good. And when you have something like that, you don't want to end it on a brutal, no, we fired him. We ran him out of town. Mm-hmm. No, you just changed the job title, let him work out his last year of his contract, and you shake hands. And that's it.
100%. I couldn't say it any better. I mean, he's done very well for a long period of time. It was his first losing season as GM or president of baseball operations last year. He's made some big-time moves that have paid off. Matt Holliday turns into a Cardinals Hall of Famer. Goldie's an MVP. Arenado's on his way to the Hall of Fame. There were trades that he made early on. Mark DeRosa was another one that was like one of his big moves early on. I think it was in 2009 when he got DeRosa, he got Holliday. He was able to extend Holliday. Then you looked at like when they lost Albert. Well, who did he go get? He got Berkman. He got Beltran. He signed Molina and Wainwright long-term. I mean, he's done some good things to make sure that they're in the fold. To the bigger picture, though, I'm with you, Jamie, is that he's done a lot for this club. They're not going to just kick him out the door, and they would figure out a role for him. And I don't think it would be far-fetched to have him even on a business side, the non-baseball.
Just move him over.
He's done his hands are on a lot of different projects that fans don't see, so I could see that happening.
Do you think his tenure early on was what it was because of the amount of money that wasn't being shelled out to all of these players? It's made his job more difficult because we know the Cardinals are not going to spend that type of money.
Yeah.
They're just not. And so I feel like it kind of hamstrings him a little bit.
There's a lot to be said for John Mozeliak in a couple different ways. One, did he inherit a good team from Walt Jocketty? And yes, he did. Was he able to keep that team going and continue to win baseball games? Yes, he was. Was he able to produce a winner on his own at one point? Yes, he did.
A lot of the tinkering of his tenure, like when Walt was done and Mo took over. Mo was a big part of the drafting and developing of the players that we saw come through. Then all of a sudden,
Tony and Walt were more like, we need this, go get it.
And the model was at that time, and I'm going back to like Jim Edmonds, Scott Rowland, some of the Larry Walker, is that we'll give up prospects to go get these guys. Now, Larry was on the very end of his career, but others were then signed to extensions to where the model changed to where, man, the money's getting so big, to your point, Marshy, the money was getting so big that we better change how we do things in terms of drafting, developing, and holding on to these players, which they did, and a lot of those guys graduated to the big leagues.
That's the thing. If you look at that 2004 team, I know a lot of maybe not a lot. I don't want to put words in fans' mouths.
Don't you put anything in people's mouths.
I don't want to do that, but perhaps there's a portion of the fan base that will look back at the early 2000s and be like, well, we have all these players, these great players. It's like, well, go look at their contracts. They weren't making anything compared to what these guys are now. Imagine if those players played today.
Well, yeah, it would.
Imagine what the contracts would look like.
Back then, they were big.
We say that.
Right, for sure.
We say that. I always laughed about that, too. I'm like, can you imagine how much money Wayne Gretzky would be making?
Oh, my God.
How about Brett Hull scoring 80 goals and 70 goals a season?
Yeah.
Guys who get 30 goals now get $7 million contracts.
We saw it a little bit change with the Blues when Al got his deal and Prongs was making, I think, $10 million a year. And it was an uncapped league.
Yeah.
It was prior to the cap. And so they were spending money to keep guys here. And it was big money.
It was. Marsha, we got one more?
Yeah, we could probably do one more here. Let's do, okay, here we go. Narrative or reality. The NFL MVP has already been decided.
Ooh, that's narrative. It's narrative. I think there's too many horses that are right in the same spot for me to pick a winner right now, so I'll go narrative.
Yeah, I think it's tight. And then when you look at Lamar Jackson, they still have the Dolphins and the Steelers left. What if he has a Brock Purdy game?
Oh,
well, that could happen. That's the thing about this NFL season, that I don't know what team I can trust going into any given week, because it seems like we'll be really high on one team. We'll use the 49ers, for example, and then they'll just lay an egg. And you're like, well, what's going on here? The Dallas Cowboys, same thing. They beat the Eagles. We're like, wow, the Cowboys are unbelievable. And then they lay an egg.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe the Ravens end up laying an egg. The Steelers didn't look terrible this past week. So, I mean, they got that going for them.
And, all of a sudden he goes out and throws 4 picks.
Yeah, who knows?
Then the narrative changes.
You know what, guys? Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Next, here on 101 ESPN. Are you looking to accessorize your vehicle? Please stop by Pure Performance. They are the best in the business. They've got everything over there. And whether you have a Jeep or a Bronco, an SUV, a pickup truck, a car, even a minivan, Pure Performance has you covered. Some of the accessories they offer are fender flares, get the lighting kits, they've got the side steps, Nerf bars, they've got the lift kit, they've got the tires, everything. It's awesome. And they got performance things as well. So they've got chips that are available. They've got clutches and flywheels. How about a cold air intake? The exhaust system, gauges, all of that available at Pure Performance. And all of that you can see when you go check out their showroom, which is 25,000 square feet, located in St. Peters, right off of Highway 70. Walk in, ask for Shelby. Tell her that Jamie Rivers sent you in, and then tell her what you're looking to do, what your vehicle is, some things that you'd like to put on the vehicle, maybe ask for suggestions. Pure Performance is there to help you, and the technicians are rock stars. Your vehicle is going to be incredible when you go to pick it up. You're going to love it. You're going to want to thank me. You want to thank everybody over there at Pure Performance. So please get over there and tell them I said hi. And also, if you can't get there in person, get there online. Visit them at pureperformance.com. That's pure, P-U-R, performance.com. It's a fast lane here on 101 ESPN 353. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. We were just talking about Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson in particular. And I want to know from you guys, did other teams around the league underestimate Lamar Jackson heading into this season? Because let's go back. Let's go a little time warp. Lamar Jackson asks for a trade. Nobody comes knocking. Now, I'm not saying nobody came knocking, but the contract that he wanted / asking for the trade, he ended up where there was no real traction. So did teams underestimate just how good he could be?
Yes, because you would pony up to pay him if you felt he was worth the money.
Yeah.
You find a way. You find a way to get under the cap, take the cap hit, and make sure that you get the premier QB, the most important position on the field. The other thing that stands out to me, I don't know if you agree with this, but his ability to take non-plays and make them into big plays. There's nobody that I'm thinking of right from the QB position that's able to do what he does. So he can throw. Mm-hmm. He had a QB rating last night of 105. But the thing is that his ability to scramble and get away and find a way to make a play. There aren't many guys like that in the league that I can think of on the top of my head right now that do what he does with his legs. That's why, to me, he'd be the MVP.
Now, do you think some of that lack of, I won't say lack of interest, lack of getting a deal done was that he's also been banged up quite a bit?
A little bit. And injury history kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that some teams, to your point, Danny, about him scrambling, I think there comes a time and a place to where when the scramble becomes like a risk. Because he's out there now, like he's in no man's land, running around, and someone's going to get him.
He's 32.
Yeah.
And there's mileage there.
There is.
And that's the one thing I think that if you're an opposing team or a team that had interest in him, I think it's a valid point, is that he's making a lot of plays with his legs, and it's one play away from getting destroyed on the field.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's not the investment that you thought he was. That would scare me.
What's a prime for a quarterback? Like, let's talk age here, because I feel like quarterback position in particular, as these guys get older, they get better.
Reading defenses, they're just smart.
And even the scrambling type quarterbacks, like you've got the schoolyard quarterback, like the Kyler Murrays, Lamar Jackson, like the guys that come in. And Lamar at first was like, oh, he's not a real quarterback. He just scrambles. He's a running back, basically, But now you look at his game, and the game is evolving to where he's recognizing when he needs to run. He's recognizing when he should run. He's recognizing when he's not supposed to run. So I've often thought to myself, like, what is the prime age then for a quarterback?
What do you think?
Look at Aaron Rodgers.
27, 28 maybe?
But look at Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, all these guys towards the end of their career that were like better.
Yes. Well, they could read defenses and split seconds make the quick decision.
So the pre-snap, I think, is where the experience comes in.
Yeah.
Right pre-snap, as they're lining up, processing what the defense is showing them. And then, of course, guys, geniuses like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers and these guys, as soon as the snap happens, identifying where the defense has baited you.
So where would you go with your MVP vote if you had it?
As of right now, I don't see how Lamar Jackson doesn't get it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just don't see, like, you look at the standings, you look at the records. Brock Purdy was my underdog. I don't think 4 interceptions gets you there, specifically this late in the season. That's going to be a lot of what people remember, especially in a big game like that. The Eagles, like Jalen Hurts hasn't done it. Dak Prescott really hasn't done it. Maybe he's in the conversation. Patrick Mahomes, no. You look at the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill was, not anymore for me. So Josh Allen, I don't know.
I messed up, by the way. Lamar's 26, not 32. Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like he's been around forever.
Yeah. He has been. So I look at that, and I think that Lamar, when you look at the statistics and the team success, because you can't just have a quarterback that's playing great out there and the team is 500.
So Josh Allen would be out for you.
He's out for me. Do you think, when you think of Josh Allen this year, do you think MVP?
If they went out, Pates, they got what, the Pats and the Dolphins still left. I think he gets in I think he could finish in the top 3.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question.
No, I don't.
That's me too. I look at it, I go, he's there, but he hasn't had that season where you're like, yeah, Lamar has had that season.
I'd look at Christian McCaffrey too.
I totally agree with that.
His ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and make people miss is second to none. Or he can run in between the tackles and punish you. He is just an all-around great football player.
If there was ever a year where there could be an MVP that's not a quarterback, it could have been this year. Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill were two guys that were changing the game from their positions. Now, Tyreek, he's at
2,000 yards.
He's still, he's there. And Christian McCaffrey, last night, still Christian McCaffrey's like your go-to guy. But I just don't think, even as good as they've been, I don't think they displace a quarterback, especially if a quarterback's playing as well as Lamar is.
So guys buy gifts for their offensive linemen. What happens in hockey? Anybody buy gifts?
No, not really.
No?
No, it's a little different, as a player on the line or whatever. Like, your guys aren't there protecting.
What if you're getting 80-plus goals and it's set up by Adam Oates? I might want to get him something.
I'd certainly buy him a beer. Oh, thank you. And at that point, if he's getting 80 assists off your 80 goals, he's probably doing okay for himself, Dan.
That's probably true. He's probably getting paid, too.
Yeah, he is.
That's all you got to tell him. You're getting paid, too.
All right, that's Dan McLaughlin, Jamie Rivers here. We've got the Gauntlet coming up next, and we have a special contestant who's been chomping at the bit to get a hold of one of us here. We'll let you know who that is when we come back on 101 ESPN.
Cheap, cheap, fun, fun.
Dirt Cheap, your one-stop shop for all things parties and holidays. We're still there right now. We're still in the middle of the holiday season. New Year's Eve right around the corner. Maybe you spent a bunch of money on Christmas presents or holiday presents and you want to save money now. Well, Dirt Cheap is the place to go. They've always got fantastic deals on your favorite beer, your favorite wine, your favorite bourbons. Trust me, I know. And they've got the high-end stuff, too. They got Angel's Envy. They've got Elijah Craig. They've got some Blantons. They've always got something for everybody over at Dirt Cheap. And the name Dirt Cheap is all about the savings, not the product. I can tell you that right now. And one great way to save is by downloading the app. They have a free app right now. And what it does, it offers you exclusive offers and discounts. There's points that you can earn. You have access to exclusive giveaways and sweepstakes. So much available on the Dirt Cheap app. You can even place your order online, drive up and pick it up. And some of the locations have a drive-through, which means you just roll right up there and then you're on your way home and you're enjoying your evening with everything from Dirt Cheap. Have a great time this holiday season, but be safe out there.
categories, one challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
It's 4:04 here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an official provider of Rolex jewelry. It is time for the Gauntlet. And we got a special guest this time. It's my girlfriend's son, Reed. He's 11 years old, and he is an avid sports watcher and a statistics guy. And if you ask Reed, he knows pretty much everything about sports. So we're going to put him to the test today, Danny.
I love it. Reed, knock him out. Let's go.
Reed, you there?
All right. Yep.
All right. So here's how it works, buddy. Is you'll pick whoever you want to play against, and then the wheel will pick the category. The categories are baseball, football, hockey, and random. Random could be just about anything. So who do you want to play against first and foremost?
I'm going to play against Jamie.
I had a feeling that was coming. He wants to take down the biggest dog in the park, Danny.
Boy, I love it.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
Well, I hope we get random or baseball or something.
Random would be a little tough on an 11-year-old.
I want to win, Dan. I don't care. Okay?
I'm hoping for either hockey or football. Those are my two strongest.
All right. Okay, Reed. So here's how it works. I'm going to leave and go to the cone of silence. Marshy's going to take over, and then I'll be back to kick your butt. Good luck, Reed.
All right.
All right, Reed. I'm sure you've listened to the Gauntlet before, but we'll go over the rules just in case. You get 4 questions. If you get the question right without using the options, you get 2 points. If you have to use the options and you get it correct, you get 1 point. And if you get it incorrect, you get 0 points. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
All right. Tell me to spin the wheel and we'll get it going.
Spin the wheel.
All right. So you said you wanted hockey or football. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Unfortunately, it looks like... Oh, Dan. You
got
spoke
random
into existence. Random is the category today.
All right.
We'll see if maybe there's some random sports questions in here.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
That is unfair. I don't like that at all.
Maybe we'll just have to help out Reed a little bit.
All right. Here you go, Dan.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Reed, you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Question number 1. The $2 bill was first printed in 1862. Whose face did it originally feature?
I'm going to go with the options here.
Options are Sacagawea, Alexander Hamilton, or George Washington.
I'm going to go Alexander Hamilton.
Final answer?
Final answer.
I like that. I like it. Okay. Cape Cod is located in which state? Massachusetts, Virginia, or Delaware? I gave you the options early, but you're going to get 2 points if you get it right.
All right, Massachusetts.
Nice.
He
didn't even know him.
He doesn't need him.
No.
All right, question number 3. What is the name of the lead singer of 98 Degrees and ex-husband to Jessica Simpson?
I'll go options here.
Options are Rich Cronin, Clay Aiken, or Nick Lachey.
I think I'm going to go Nick Lachey here.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Question 4. Who wrote the classic coming-of-age novel, The Catcher in the Rye?
I don't know. Sorry. I'm going to go with the options here.
Okay. J.D. Salinger, Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I'm going to go the third option.
Okay. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice job, my man. You did well.
How are you feeling?
Feeling good about it.
Good.
All right, let's bring Jamie back in.
Get the bragging rights from Jamie.
Yeah, this is the
very
all-important gauntlet right now.
I can't believe that he got random. We should have just given him either football
We should have.
or hockey.
But the wheel doesn't lie, though.
No. You
We
better
don't
pack a
know
lunch,
lies.
buddy.
What happened in here, guys?
Well, we got random.
Oh, baby.
Reed brought his game today, so
Okay.
you need to pack a lunch.
He does know an awful lot about a lot of things. So, all right,
Ready to go.
let's do this.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
The $2 bill was first printed in 1862. Whose face did it originally feature?
I have a couple of ideas, but I need the options, please.
Options are Sacagawea, Alexander Hamilton, or George Washington.
All right, Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, final answer from the good Canadian guy knowing the U.S. $2 bill.
Jamie, I messed up in question 2. I gave him the options.
You gave him the answer?
And no, I didn't give him the answer, but I did give him the options.
Okay,
So I
that's
gave him
fine.
2 points on this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Cape Cod is located in which state?
Massachusetts, final answer.
All right, question number 3. What is the name of the lead singer of 98 Degrees and ex-husband to Jessica Simpson?
That would be right from my era of boy bands. Nick Lachey was the lead singer of said band.
Final answer?
It is my final answer.
Question 4. Who wrote the classic coming-of-age novel, The Catcher in the Rye?
Oh, that's classic. That's J.D. Salinger, isn't it? Final answer.
Final answer.
All right, Jamie.
What?
Let's go
Why
over
do you guys
these
seem so mad
questions.
at me?
Question number 1.
Answer, Jamie.
The $2 bill was first printed in 1862. Whose face did it originally feature? Reed, you said Alexander Hamilton. Jamie, you said Alexander Hamilton. Correct answer is
Alexander Hamilton.
Nice.
But-
Uh-oh.
Nice.
you guys both needed the option, so we're all tied at 1.
Nice job, Rito.
Question number 2. Cape Cod is located in which state? Reed, you said Massachusetts.
Nice.
Jamie, you said Massachusetts. Correct answer is
Massachusetts.
we gave Reed those 2 points. He knew it right away, even though, Dan, you gave him the option.
Yeah.
But he knew it right away.
I jumped the gun. He was all over it.
So we're all knotted up at 3.
Wow.
Question number 3. What is the name of the lead singer of 98 Degrees and ex-husband to Jessica Simpson? Jamie, you said Nick Lachey. Reed, you said Nick Lachey.
Oh, come on.
Correct answer is...
Nick Lachey.
But... Reed needed the options.
Oh, I can't believe he still got it. How the hell does he even know who Nick Lachey is?
He knows everything.
Yeah, he does.
But does he know this final question?
Oh, boy.
Who wrote the classic coming-of-age novel, The Catcher in the Rye? Jamie, you said J.D. Salinger. Reed, you said F. Scott Fitzgerald. The correct answer is...
J.D. Salinger.
Reed,
You have chosen poorly.
unbelievable, Jamie.
Oh, man. Reed, good job, buddy. You did good.
It's all right.
You
I'll tell
did
you,
good.
that was tough for Marshy to hit that you lose thing. He was
Hey,
like really
I didn't
down
wanna
about
hit
it.
I
You
didn't
know
want to
what?
hit it. And this is coming from a guy that always, for the most part, beats really nice people.
Yeah,
in the
you
gauntlet.
do. You do.
Yeah.
Look, this is a life lesson for Reed. He's going to battle back. He'll come back from this. I will have bragging rights around the house from now until forever. But
Oh my.
all right, buddy. Good job, man.
All right.
Enjoy. See you later.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Is it? I don't feel bad.
Oh, you should feel bad because
Everybody's wanting to respin.
Okay.
They want to respin.
Well, I tell you what. Maybe we'll let Reed do a redo tomorrow.
he should have gotten football or hockey. You just should give him.
This is unbelievable.
You can't give him random.
So
Maybe we
because
bring him back today. Jeez.
because it's the holiday book, which means we can kind of do whatever the hell we want.
That's right.
Like none of the bosses are listening.
I mean,
You know
there's
that.
literally no one here
There's
except for
nobody
us
here.
three.
In fact, I feel unsafe because there's nobody here.
There's no security here.
Nothing.
We
Nobody's
usually have a ton of security here because
Boy, I am getting called a lot of
Anthony's
things here.
on
on
you
the
are
text.
getting ripped.
My gosh.
You're getting killed on this thing.
Good job, Jade. Way to crush the kid's spirit.
You should feel bad.
we should blame the wheel. to be honest.
Wow. Yeah, I'm taking a beating here. Well, Reed, I hope you're happy. Reed won without winning. He won the popular vote.
Yeah, he did.
He did. All right, we'll make it right. We'll have Reed back tomorrow, and he can pick. I'll let Reed pick his opponent and the category.
There you go.
You know why? Because we're like the Outback. No rules, just right.
I think Carey Davis is going to be in tomorrow, too.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah.
He's
Maybe
joining
he'll
the
take
fast
football
lane.
and pick on Carey for a little bit.
I'd love that.
All right, well, sorry about your luck, Reed.
Boy, you're tough, man.
Yeah, hey.
You're tough.
There's no gimmies in
Hey,
this
life
world.
isn't fair,
That's
right?
right, Andrew.
Life ain't
That's
fair.
right.
But
It's a
it
life
sucks
lesson.
what you did, Jamie. It really does. You know what? You know what? You're like the guy on the Raiders. You walk up to the kid, you give him the football, and then you snatched it right from him.
The question is now is Reed's mom and how upset she might be at you.
You know what, Dan? I never thought of the repercussions of
I'm
this.
just saying. I mean, you know.
And now I'm getting blamed.
It sure is cold outside.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of ice and cold, we're going to talk hockey when we come back here and what we can expect from this Blues team moving forward under new interim head coach Drew Bannister here on 101 ESPN. Stewart's American Mortgage Company is the place to go for all of your needs, and especially if you're looking to, refinance your home or even purchase a home, because Stewie's got so many great options available to you. The one option that is key to everything, it's his creation, and it's called the Bagel Loan. The Bagel Loan is a loan where you borrow $200,000 or more, and there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender's fees, no closing costs, and Stewie can get you closed in as quick as 7 to 10 days sometimes. That's the magic that Stewie makes happen for you, and he's always up to date on the interest rates, the Federal Reserve, what the government's doing. He's our one-stop shop for all things to do finances, and it needs to be yours as well. And he hands out his personal cell phone number. That personal number to give him a call or shoot him a text is 314-324-4440. Again, that's 314-324-4440. You can call, text anytime, any day, any night, holiday, doesn't matter. Stewie's there. And if you can't remember that, just Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Fastlane here on 101 ESPN, and I am taking an absolute beating on the text line as well as our YouTube snake pit brought to you by Air Alliance team.
Yeah, and it's well-deserved, too.
Is it, though?
It is. Although, you know what? You may have toughened up Reed if he needed it. I don't know. You would know better than I.
Yeah, well, it's always good. Little reminders are always good, Dan. You know, nothing in life is easy, and sometimes you have to taste failure before you can taste success.
Hey, I'm not the one sleeping on a couch tonight.
Okay, you know, I didn't think we'd have to go there. It is a nice couch, however, you know, won't have the comforts of, like, the bedding and, of course, my girlfriend.
Yeah, but, that's the part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is it a sectional? Like, you have room to sectional?
Oh,
like
yeah.
like the couch?
What I thought you said. No.
Oh, that's tough.
No. It's going to be a tough one, guys, but I still feel like I did the right thing. Yeah.
I don't.
They'll all thank me later on for it.
You need to bring him back and let him either get football or hockey.
We'll bring Reed back tomorrow. We'll do Gauntlet 1.0 rules to where if he picks hockey, he plays against me. If he picks football, he plays against Carey. If he picks baseball, he gets Marshy.
All right. That's fair.
All right, Marshy, are we okay with that?
Sounds good to me.
Text line, are we okay with that? Let me know. Snake Pit, let me know if you guys think that that's okay. All right, our St. Louis Blues closed out, I wouldn't say the first half, but closed out almost the first half before the holiday with a big win over the Chicago Blackhawks. They're 4-1 under interim head coach Drew Bannister. And I guess the question a lot of our listeners and Blues fans have is, what can we expect from the Blues moving forward under Bannister? And I think if we translate that a little bit, Danny, it's, can they sustain this? Like, is what we're seeing still part of the coach bump, or is this part of what the new reality is?
I would say a little bit of both. You know, you talked about it earlier, his changes with the power play. He's had changes in the lineup. What he did with Buchnevich and how other players bought into what he was doing. Now, on the flip side of that, I would say you're going to find out a lot about the Blues. Dallas, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Vancouver, Carolina, Florida, the Rangers, and Boston, all upcoming. Now, you mentioned this earlier. A lot of that is at home. If they don't play, let's say, if they don't get to 500 in these games at home, then you kind of find out a little bit of where you're at. Like, if they don't come out and play well, then I think you got issues. If they do, then all of a sudden, you know what? He sticks around longer and see where this team goes. Right now, they're 17-15-1 at the Christmas break. They're in 9th in the Western Conference. They're on pace for 87 points. You know what? You play well against these teams, it shows you maybe it's a little different team than they were in the first month.
Yeah, and one thing about this Blues team is they have played well against some of the top of the food chain here. They've beaten Colorado in Colorado. They beat Dallas. Like, you've got some games here where you've performed really well. You beat the Florida Panthers down in Florida. It was a tough one in Tampa, but you know, still, like, you're going to have those games. You're not going to win every game. You're not that kind of team. But this is going to be a gauntlet for the Blues. And I think that out of the 7 games that they have at home, and Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong or if you disagree, because, you know, you've watched a lot of Blues hockey over the years, but I think they've got to win 5 of the 7.
That's where I'm going. You know, I don't think you can be 3 out of the 7. You know, if you go 3 out of the 7, then you're going back on the road for a bunch, then you got problems. But what he's done moving forward, I want to see the power play improved. Keep going in that direction. Yeah. And I want to see, I think a big litmus test for him is what can he get out of Jordan Kyrou? You've invested years. You've invested a lot of money in him. He had the situation with Craig Berube. He's getting booed at home. He did respond, to his credit, but will it stay consistently there? And that is one of the things that the question was posed, what are you looking forward to, you know, or moving ahead in this? What do you want to see out of the Blues moving forward? I want to see consistency out of Jordan Kyrou. And is he getting the best out of one of your best players? That's got to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that look, ultimately, your question marks to begin the season were Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. And not that they aren't good players, but they're starting the 8x8 contract. 8 years, $8 million. They're making the big dough now. You know, what can we expect from these players? Well, Robert Thomas has proven that he can be that guy. He's showing you he's an $8 million player. He's got 37 points in 33 games, and he's third in the NHL in 5-on-5 points.
Yeah, 32, 5-on-5.
The other 2 guys are Kucherov and Nathan McKinnon.
It's pretty good.
That's really good company.
Yeah.
And Pavel Buchnevich was a guy, too, that you're like, okay, we need to see what Buch can do. Buch is doing what he does. 28 points in 31 games. He's hovering around that point a game mark, which is traditionally where he's been here for the Blues in the last couple of years. Jordan Kyrou is off his pace a little bit. 25 points in 33 games. He's -4. The defensive side of the game is where the inconsistencies are, and the competitiveness from Jordan Kyrou is where the inconsistencies are.
If he buries some of those breakaways early, we're not talking that much about this.
But we might be talking about a couple more wins, too.
Yeah,
so think about this for a second, Danny. Think. If Jordan Kyrou scores a couple of those goals, and the power play scores a couple of big goals, because there's like 10 games where they were tied and they didn't score a power play goal, and there was 11 games where they could have, down by a goal for 10 games, and had they scored a power play goal, would have tied it. And there's 11 of those games where they were tied, and had they scored a power play goal, they could have won. So let's say there's 4 more wins. 5 more if Kyrou buries. 5 more wins right now puts you at the top of your division.
Didn't it tell you how much you rely on him?
Yeah.
To be the guy, to be the goal scorer that they expected him to be. And you're right. I mean, if he is, they're winning games. So I've always said it, I mean, with the contracts comes expectations, and you got to live up to them. Yep. And at this point, his point total is not where it needs to be. Certainly goal scoring is not where it needs to be. But we're not even halfway through the season. So there's a second half to this thing before they get this thing going again tomorrow night against Dallas. And I'm sure he feels pressure, especially after the situation with Chief.
Oh, yeah.
But this is why you pay him that kind of money.
So here's what I've noticed in the last handful of games from Jordan Kyrou. Well, I shouldn't say that. Since the whole booing thing happened, he's played a more complete game. Now, he hasn't played a perfect game. You know, he's no Ryan O'Reilly, 200-foot game, and, you know, like, I get it. But he also possesses skills that Ryan O'Reilly doesn't have. And I think that that's where people have to learn to lighten up a little bit on being a shutdown forward out there and being a dynamic scorer. Very seldom do you get both. Very seldom. And you know this, Danny. So many times over the years, like people talk about a 200-foot game, and I've talked to so many people in the NHL, said no goal scorer ever plays a 200-foot game.
You're sniping.
They just don't.
Yeah.
If you can get them to play a 200-foot game for periods of time, pockets of time in the game, especially when it's, you know, last 5 minutes of a period, tie game, up by a goal, then yes, you have to identify that and have those guys play that game. Otherwise, man, you have to let the thoroughbreds run.
So what would you do then with Kyrou? If I'm a fan watching, what should I be looking for in what you would say is that's a complete game by a guy that's a goal scorer?
So being in good position in the offensive zone. So if he's not the first 1 or 2 guys into the zone, he's got to play high. He's got to be the F3 at the top in the offensive zone to support defensively. And a lot of times that guy gets rewarded with loose pucks. Watch how many times in a game the F3, the high forward, gets rewarded with a loose puck or an opportunity to score a goal just because they're in that spot. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm looking for is through the neutral zone, he's back checking hard through the middle of the ice, chasing down. He has enough speed to chase down pretty much anybody in the NHL. And when he's chasing back, he has to finish out the play. Make sure your team has possession of the puck before you turn the toes and go back up, back up the ice. That's all you need to look for. That's it. And when you get the puck on your stick at any of the lines and you're a tie game or up by a goal, it's getting out into the neutral zone. It's getting into the opposition zone. It's getting down into the corner. Rather than trying to toe drag somebody or fire a sauce pass cross ice to somebody or backhand pass, no. Make a smart decision.
Right now, you're a point. The Blues are a point out of the playoffs. If this would go somewhat south, what do you think that they would do in terms of players and getting them experience and then just trying to find out what you have moving forward?
Yeah, so the Blues are in a situation where they have a lot of guys with long-term deals right now. So you're kind of handcuffed. As far as moving players around at the top of your lineup, you really can't do it. You can't.
I agree.
You'll be tinkering with the bottom of your lineup.
That's where I'm going.
But then, if you bring in a Jimmy Snuggerud or a Zachary Bolduc or some of these guys that are high-flying, like high offensive potential, you're putting them on a fourth line?
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything.
Nope.
He's not going to be able to generate. So, Army has to do a real good job here of identifying, how he can incrementally improve this team. It's not going to be leaps and bounds. Unless somebody agrees, unless things go so far south, Dan, that somebody agrees to waive their no-trade clause because they're like, I just want out. I'll go to a contender, or I'll go to this team. I want out. So now Army can move mountains a little bit that way when it comes to salary cap and opening up prime positions within the group. But unless that happens, like, you're going to have a tough time. So it actually is in the best interest of the team to be competitive, to be that team that's pushing for a playoff spot, to reward your fan base with, even if it's a first-round playoff, and let's say things stop there, at least you've given your fans a playoff round. You've incrementally moved the team forward out of the playoffs last year, into the playoffs this year, continue to develop. Maybe it's 2 rounds the following year, and then maybe you're a contender 3-4 years from now because those young studs have found their home in the lineup, and these other guys have proven that they still got game.
636 is asking if you become the Mike Keenan of the Gauntlet.
Just crushing kids' dreams. That's right. And you 11-year-olds out there want a piece of me. All right? I'm here. There's no gimmies in the fast lane.
I want Reed back on tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll get him. Apparently, that's
good.
very popular here amongst the text line.
And you're not right now.
Not at all. Danny Mac, Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh. We're going to play a little smoke and mirrors next here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues, who we just got done talking about, won over the weekend against the Chicago Blackhawks 7-5, the final score. They'll take on the Dallas Stars tomorrow night. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. We'll have all the action for you right here on 101 ESPN. We will talk with Joe Vitale at 4:45, so stay tuned for that one. Once again, Blues Stars tomorrow night, pregame at 6. Puck drop is at 7. Tonight at 7:30, we'll have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl pregame starting once again at 7:30. And last night, the Ravens defeated the 49ers 33-19. We're going to do Smoke and Mirrors NFL edition. That's coming up next right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back here to the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers in for Anthony Stalter, who's enjoying a much-deserved day off. We got Danny Mac in here, Andrew Marsh, and we're going to have a segment here that I believe was probably put together because of me.
Maybe.
And it's called Smoke and Mirrors. What do you got, Marshy?
All right, let's start off with the Dallas Cowboys, who...
Smoke. Go ahead, sir.
Who lost this week to the Miami Dolphins. Are the Cowboys smoke and mirrors?
So I have said for weeks now that I thought the Cowboys and Dak Prescott were smoke and mirrors. Then they went out there, and who'd they lay a beating on?
Well, they did defeat the Eagles pretty badly.
Yeah, they beat the Eagles. That's the game I was thinking of. And I thought to myself, oh, damn, maybe I'm wrong about this team. But then they totally redeemed themselves by going out there and losing to another good team. The Dallas Cowboys, for me, they just haven't displayed dominance over good teams consistently. You look at their wins. They beat the Giants, the Jets. They lost to the Cardinals. They beat the Patriots. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Rams at the time when the Rams were not playing good. They beat the Giants. They beat the Panthers, the Commanders. Like, these are not great teams. And you look, they beat the Eagles. That's a big win. But then they go back-to-back now against a tough Bills team and a tough Dolphins team, and they lose both games.
And they've lost, as you mentioned, 2 in a row. And the key for me has been, can they win away from home?
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, they just don't win on the road. They've had some tight games. Like the Philly game was one they could have won, but they didn't. And they're 10-5 on the year. They play great football for the most part at home. I mean, they're blowing teams out by 30 plus.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the road, they just can't get it going, man.
Yep.
And they're going to be on the road in the playoffs. They're a wild card team right now. That would be my concern when I think about the Dallas Cowboys. Win on the road, I don't know if they can.
Marshy, what do you think? I already know what you think. You hate the Cowboys.
Let's move on to the next one. We'll stick with the NFC East. We'll go with the Philadelphia Eagles, who defeated the Giants, but it was a close one. It came down to the final play, and then Tyrod Taylor ended up throwing an interception. But are the Eagles smoke and mirrors?
I think they are. And here's why I think they are, is hearing that there are a lot of things going on in Philly that aren't great.
Especially with their QB.
Yeah, and guys talking about how they're the most miserable 11-win team in the NFL. Like, hearing that stuff out of the locker room, and you got great guys there, too. You got Jason Kelce, who's a character dude, came back to play another season. In my eyes, he might be the best center in the NFL, still, even at his age. And it looks like there's turmoil with this team, and that's not good. So I'm going with smoke and mirrors.
They're the number 2 seed right now. NFC East leaders. They moved ahead of Detroit because of their strength of victory tiebreaker, which you get into at this time of the year. They've got the Cardinals and they've got the Giants left. Now, you would think that they win those games. You think, although the NFL is unpredictable. But you win those 2 games, then you get momentum going into the playoffs as a number 2 seed. I'm liking the Eagles. I think things can shake out after 2 weeks. You know,
you're not smoking mirrors.
Exactly, not smoking mirrors at all.
Marshy, you're the tiebreaker.
I don't think they're smoke and mirrors. They did something similar last year, and to Dan's point, they they still have a good team. I think they've been banged up a little bit. I don't even know if Jalen Hurts is necessarily 100%. I don't think he is, but
I don't think he has been the entire year.
They've been there. Same reason with the Chiefs. Why the Chiefs could maybe make a run, even if they aren't playing their best ball right now, is because they've been there. They've been there in the playoffs. A lot of these other teams have not proven that they can get it done in the playoffs. So I won't count them out just yet. I'll say they are not smoke and mirrors for the time being. Moving on to a team that I absolutely think is smoke and mirrors right now, and that's Jacksonville. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm
terrible
with you.
right now.
I don't know what the hell that team is. First of all, that division is just hot garbage. Look at it. Like we make fun of the NFC South. Right? All year long, we've made fun of the NFC South. And with just cause for the most part. Now, Tampa Bay is exactly where I thought they would be, just slightly above 500 and leading the division. But let's just turn the focus up here to the AFC South. 8-7 across the board, 5-10 for the Titans. That's a terrible division.
Jacksonville would have, though, through all their issues, the 4 seed if the playoffs started today. They've lost 4 of 5 of their last 7, but they lead the AFC South because they retain the tiebreaker against Texas and Indy. They've got the Panthers and the Titans left. And again, on paper, you say those are 2 winnable games for them. Mm-hmm. But they're playing terrible right now, having lost 4 of 5.
I agree. They've lost 4 in a row, too.
Yep.
Wow.
Didn't see that happening.
No, me neither.
So I brought up the Chiefs. Do you think the Chiefs are smoke and mirrors? They've lost a lot of games here lately that you probably wouldn't think that they would lose.
I don't think I can call Patrick Mahomes smoke and mirrors. I just don't think I can call it that. I think that there are some things that are working against the Chiefs right now. Certainly offensively, it's been a down year for Mahomes. It's been a down year for the entire offense. That Andy Reid really hasn't had this struggle since being, he'd go back to the Eagles even. He always had good offensive packages and good offensive players. I don't think it's smoke and mirrors. I think the Chiefs are going to be all right. Do I see Super Bowl for them in the future? No, I said earlier I don't see them getting out of the AFC, but I don't think they're smoke and mirrors.
I agree. They can't get the top spot, so that means Mahomes will go on the road. He's never played in a road playoff game. They got the Bengals and the Chargers left. The one thing that the Chiefs do have, though, is defense. And no one talks about their defense because all the focus is on Kelsey, Mahomes, lack of offense, 14 INTs from Mahomes.
It's not like the Raiders, the offense did anything yesterday. Both of their 2 of their touchdowns came from their defense. So it's not like the Chiefs lost because of their defense.
There was a fumble early, and then the pick 6 happened in, 13 seconds?
Crazy. Something like that. So I agree with you guys. I don't think they're smoke and mirrors. Last one here. The team that lost last night to the Ravens, the San Francisco 49ers, are they smoke and mirrors?
No, they're not.
No.
They had a bad game. Brock Purdy had his first real clunker as a 49er.
Exactly,
and I'm just chalking it up to that, quite honestly. If I'm the coaching staff, this is the one where you almost throw away the video.
Don't show them. Just say, come on, we know who we are. We're 9-1 in the conference. We know we're a real good team. Just happened to be one of those nights.
Or you take the video and you pull it up on the screen in front of, they got the big video rooms there. There's awesome setups in the NFL. You put the video up there and you have it on pause and you say, boys, we'll go over this tape before we play those guys in the Super Bowl.
Well put.
And you put it aside.
By the way, in hockey, how do they do it? Do you guys have the huge video rooms, or everybody just gathers around?
Yeah, you have the big video room, and you'll have either the full team in there for some kind of a systems meeting. Most of the time, like on game day, you'll have a team meeting in the room, a little bit of video. They have the video screens in the locker room, so it's an easy one like that. And then you'll have special teams. Special teams will go to the video room off to the side, and they'll go over power play, penalty kill, get all that sorted out. But yeah, they do. You don't watch as much film as NFL teams do, to where you've got the big auditorium looking things. Obviously, you don't have as many players either. So, but you do have a video room where guys get in there. They can, they get the nice cushy seats, and you watch the video, and the coach goes over things.
I've seen some of that, and I was thinking back when I was covering the Blues, so it's a long time. I mean, they would call guys into the coach's room, and there's popcorn on the floor, and it was a VHS.
Yeah.
And they'd pop that thing in with no different angles, just kind of the high, wide angle, and you're just watching the play develop.
Camera.
Yeah, exactly. And that was it.
Danny, they used to, for when we did video, Quenneville would have, like, the AV department. Like in high school, you get the kid who wheels in the TV. Quenneville had a TV strapped to a cart with a VHS.
Yep.
And they come wheeling in with this thing, plug it in, and it was a little, like, tube TV.
I remember.
Like, huddle around to watch the video.
Jamie Compound was there for years.
Who cut everything manually because they didn't have digital. So he'd have like 3 or 4 VCRs going, and as plays would happen, he would mark it on the thing, and then he'd take that. Then he would take that tape, put it in another VHS, and another VHS underneath the blank tape, and go to that spot in the game where the marker is, like as far as the little counter thing, and he would run that play and record it. And then when the play was over, he'd stop the recording, take that tape out, put another tape in so you'd get 5 or 6 clips of like a defensive play, but it took him like 25 minutes to do it.
The dude would be up until 5 a.m. after every game.
He's a machine. He's now assistant coach down in Florida. He was assistant coach in Chicago for a number of years. He's earned his stripes. Those guys, I mean, the work they did back then was crazy.
Yeah, sure was.
All right, that's Smoke and Mirrors here in the Fast Lane. We're going to talk to our good buddy Joey Vitale when we come back right here on 101 ESPN.
Vitale views things a little differently. Just imagine how he looks at hockey. Whoa! This is The View from Vitale, brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
It's the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers sitting in for Anthony Stalter, who's taking a little breather for today. We got Danny Mack in here. We got Andrew Marsh. And we head out now to our celebrity line. Bring in the one, the only Joey Vitale. Joey, how we doing, bud?
Rib Dog, what's going on, man? Doing great.
Good, yeah. How was Christmas over at the Vitales? Because I have a picture in my mind of, like, the beginning of Home Alone when people are scrambling everywhere. And, that's my view of the Vitale house on Christmas morning.
Well, yeah, I was going to tell you, if your view is looking like the entrance to hell, then you're probably bang on. Yeah, my house, it's like, you ever been to those convention centers on like a volleyball national tournament?
Oh, yeah.
Where you walk in and it's like this huge auditorium and balls and whistles and girls screaming and parents. That's my everyday. But Christmas is definitely amped up a little bit.
Yeah, so a great time then, right, Joe?
Best time.
Today,
December 26th is my day where I pop in the old AirPods and I take down the Christmas decorations. I don't say one word to my wife. She doesn't say one word to me. The kids know to mind their own business, play with their toys. And by the 27th, I'm feeling a little bit better.
Joey, 5 unanswered against the Hawks. And in terms of some of the regular season games you've seen, where does that one stand?
Regular season, I think that is definitely top 5. You know, it's my 6th year in the booth. I think that was the top 5, maybe 1 or 2 as far as just pure excitement. That third period was something really special. You know, I think that this team is starting to do something particularly special that they just couldn't figure out a way to do under Craig Berube this season, not just this season. Craig Berube's teams in the past certainly had this, but it's really been a tough one this year when it came to this. And that's coming from behind and playing even though you give up that first goal or the second goal. You know, we saw it, you know, when they played the Dallas Stars, you know, last week. We saw it last game with the Chicago Blackhawks, the fight back in the Florida Panthers game. I mean, for a while during the Craig Berube, the first 20-ish games of the year, that crazy stat, if they were scoring first, they were winning. If they didn't, they weren't. And that was a little alarming because you're not always going to get on the board first. And you're going to have to figure out how to win games from coming from behind. And that certainly was cherry on top, come from behind victory like that on home ice Saturday night against the Hawks. Definitely gave the fans their money's worth that night.
Joey, I don't know how you feel about the Pavel Buchnevich benching, but I brought it up earlier in the show, and I just said, look, there was 1 or 2 ways that could have went for this hockey club. And I feel... my opinion on this is not so much that Drew Bannister, you know, showed the backbone to do it. I think for me, the biggest positive difference maker for this group is how Pavel Buchnevich handled it.
Yeah, definitely, Jamie. I talked to Pavel about it before the Chicago game in the morning, and I just asked him. I said, "Hey, how did you take that?" And he kind of shrugged it over. He's like, "Who cares? Like, I play all my life. I have good game, bad game. Who cares?" Like. And his point was that he's played the game so long, he's been around so long, he knows he's a good hockey player, and he knows he's also human, and he's going to have bad games. And he didn't mind being fat at all. And he even said that I deserve to be fat. I didn't deserve to play in that game. And believe it or not, I know it's one of those things where a lot of fans think, oh, he was probably so disappointed or so angry at the coach. But knowing Pavel and knowing how these veteran players approach things like this, I would say it's something that it was just water off his back immediately. He figured out, you know, the next night to get a quick reset. He was terrific in that Florida game, and then he moved on from there. I think the benching, I think it's okay. I think it's okay, assuming there's one thing. You have to have some level of communication. You have to be willing to have that talk and have that discussion with the player. And I think that, you know, Drew Bannister, of course, did that with Pavel Buchnevich. You know, the best example I could give of this, where you have to hold one of your best players accountable, but you're communicating through it. I played with a player named Andrew Hutchinson who played, you know, 600-700 games in the National Hockey League. This one he got sent down to the minors towards the end of his career. He was our captain. John Hines, who's now, of course, the coach of Minnesota Wild, was our coach. second game of the year, he comes in after the first period and he just rips our captain to shreds. And we're all looking at our coach like, this guy's completely nuts. And our poor captain, he's got 600 games in the NHL. He's obviously our leader and our presence. And that's the way he approached it. Now, I found out from Hutch, we were having some beers months later, he told me that John Hines took him aside before he went in for that meeting. He pulled him aside after that first period was over and said, hey, just prepare. I'm going to rip into you here a little bit. It's going to be for the best, for the betterment of the entire team. So he gave him a heads up. To me, that's where it works. Like you can call a top player out. You can sit a top player, but there has to be communication. You have to explain yourself, explain the situation, why you did it, and then hopefully the player has a good understanding. And like you mentioned, Jamie, I think that Pavel Buchnevich handled it like a pro.
Yeah, Joey, I always felt like a very important player because the coach was always tearing me to shreds and benching me. So obviously, I felt like a guy that could help the group galvanize.
You and me both, buddy. I know this word communication that wasn't in the coach's dictionary. I would say about 15, 20 years ago. You'd be sat, you'd be scratched. And all of a sudden, it's like that awkward walk down the hallway, and your coach is coming. You're coming. It reminds you of like when you and your wife are fighting, and like all of a sudden you catch each other in the same hallway. Like, and you kind of give her the butt, and she gives you the butt, and you kind of sneak by. Like, God, it's so awkward. There was plenty of that, no doubt.
You think we know more about this team with Dallas, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Vancouver, Carolina, Florida, the Rangers, and Boston coming up?
I mean, we got some big games coming up, and I think the Blues have played pretty well against some of these bigger teams this year. This is a crunch time, Danny Mac. I mean, this is where you really got to start separating yourself and piling some wins together. They always said January 1st is a really good benchmark to really evaluate where you're at. To me, you got to find yourself 4-ish, 5 games over 500 to really put yourself in a good spot in this division. I mean, Dallas, Colorado, they're going to be there. I think Winnipeg surprised a lot of people. I don't know if Arizona's got the wheels to get there to the very end, but then you got to keep an eye on the wild card race now. With the Edmonton Oilers are starting to heat up. The Minnesota Wild started winning since their coaching change. The Nashville Predators are doing well. So everyone in your division is winning. So you have got to figure out a way to get above 500, stay above 500. Can they make it 3, 4-ish games around that first week of January to set themselves up for a really good run here? Now, it's important for that date, especially because last year they commented on overusing Binnington throughout the month of January and February because they didn't have a good backup at Thomas Greiss. He wasn't getting the job done. So if you can figure out a way to get yourself in a good position, you can lean more on Joe Hofer, who's been looking pretty good lately as well. And then you can start resting your starting goaltender throughout this month of January, which is going to hopefully be the catalyst for that moving forward.
Joey, great stuff, my man. Appreciate you coming on today. Go back, relax, put the AirPods in, do what you got to do, and try to enjoy this time off until game time tomorrow.
Game time tomorrow. We'll see you guys there tomorrow. Always a pleasure talking to you two fine gentlemen. You guys have a great day.
All right, thanks, Joey. Appreciate it very much. That's Joey Vitale.
I wish he'd get in a good mood.
Joey? He's always in a good mood.
I know he is.
He's always in a good mood.
He's always happy.
Laughing, having a good time. Joey gets quiet every now and then. He gets a little tired, a little tuckered out. He gets quiet.
He sounded a little quiet today, actually.
Yeah, it's okay.
But it still was a great mood.
It's a great mood. You always get something good out of Joey
you do.
V. And we appreciate him coming on all the time. All right, it's the Fast Lane here. Danny Mac in here with me, Andrew Marsh, Jamie Rivers. We come back, we're going to get into what's trending on 101 ESPN.
time to find out what's going on in the sports world with What's Trending Now. Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate a car and get tickets to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. We have Jamie Rivers, Dan McLaughlin, I'm Andrew Marsh, and it's time for What's Trending. Guys, we brought up the Connor Bedard Michigan goal. Earlier in the show, we also mentioned that Trevor Zegras had one as well. Before the game, he was with Ali Lazoff, who is the Ducks ringside reporter, and she asked him before the game if he could do the Michigan and essentially score, which I found hilarious because he ended up doing it. Have you guys ever been in a position where you have either talked to a player or, in Jamie, your case, been interviewed to where a reporter has said something and then that exchange actually ends up happening in the game?
I'm trying to think. There was one time where I did an interview for the Ottawa Sun after I was traded to the Senators from the Islanders, and I wasn't thrilled with my time with Mike Milbury in Long Island. I know you guys find that hard to believe. And I said the very first game we played against the Islanders, I had stated that I hadn't scored yet in the season. I said, well, tonight's going to be my first goal. And I scored.
Did you really?
I did. I scored.
It's beautiful.
And apparently Mike Milbury threw his coffee against the wall when I scored. Because he had read the article. And
I love it.
Yeah.
So
that would be the only one that really kind of sticks out for me.
Well, the one that sticks out for me is that he had told, not me, but he told a sick kid that he was going to hit a home run for him. Mm-hmm. And that was Matt Holliday.
Oh,
that's awesome.
And hit the home run. They sent personnel out to go get the ball. And Matt would go visit children's hospitals a lot late at night because kids are up at night. They're sick and they don't sleep. And he told the kid he was going to hit a home run and did, and went and got the ball and gave it to him that night.
That's so crazy.
It's awesome. He was awesome.
What a dude Matt Holliday is.
The best.
Well, guys, unfortunately for me, I mentioned this in one of the breaks, the Minnesota Vikings have lost their tight end, TJ Hawkinson, with a torn ACL and MCL. He was injured over the weekend against Jamie's Detroit Lions. Not that the Vikings really, I mean, they still have a chance to make the playoffs, but, I mean, this is terrible. This is terrible for me.
I can't believe the misfortune that the Vikings have had this year because they're playing really well. And then Kirk Cousins gets hurt. And obviously Kirk Cousins is their QB1. But then they manage to tread water and they scotch tape the boat back together and they start winning football games again and find themselves, oddly enough, like right on the cusp of playoff football.
They're just outside. They're the first team out.
Like with any luck at all here, who do they play the last two games?
So Packers and Lions.
Yeah, they have to win both games because the Seahawks... They play the Packers and then the Lions again. So, for me, I'm hoping they win this week, and then I'm hoping the Lions end up sitting all of their players heading into the playoffs. I think they will.
Dan Campbell wants everybody's soul.
Well,
he really does.
I'm going to manifest that they go into Week 18 with a chance to make the playoffs and get that 7th seed because I believe the Seahawks play
Pittsburgh and Arizona,
but the Rams then play the 49ers at the end of the year. I don't
could
know.
Also be sitting on
exactly.
a bunch of
They
players.
could be, but with that loss though last night, that's a big loss. So who knows what happens there? And the Rams, I mean, I could see them beating the 49ers the way they're playing. So I don't know what's going to happen either way. If they miss the playoffs, I'll just blame it on injuries. If they make it, I'll be happy. But, I mean, this has been a lost season for me.
What's the bigger injury, the tight end for Minnesota or Waddle in Miami? He's got a high ankle sprain, and he's out for the rest of the regular season.
It's got to be Waddle. I mean, they're a
think so,
playoff
too.
team. I don't know what the status of Tyreek Hill is. So...
yeah, that's tough.
You know, I don't know.
Tyreek was out. He's the number one guy.
Right, so I don't know. They have a lot of weapons on that team, but...
Those are two pretty big weapons that are just
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much they'd have to rely on the run game. The run game's pretty good, though. You got Raheem Mostert, and A-Chain's been injured as well. So I really do think that the winner of the... And this is I'm not, like, some profit or anything, but like when it comes down to it, whoever's healthy at the end of the year is going to win the Super Bowl, like the way that this season has gone.
Who's got the healthiest QB? The last man standing.
That's literally what
They
it
win
is.
this thing.
Pretty much how it works.
And it could be the Cleveland Browns, who have Joe Flacco as their quarterback. We mentioned him earlier today, and Joe Flacco said there is no ill will towards the Jets. He's happy where he's at.
He was
I
not
bet he is.
re-signed by the Jets, and then they host the Jets on Thursday night. So he was. You think they could have used him this year?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. They may have been able to hang on to a playoff hope had they had Flacco.
He's pretty darn good, man.
He's a very simple quarterback, but he's also a guy that doesn't lose you games.
Exactly. I mean, he manages the game. He's your typical game manager. Yeah. He's found ways to win.
Yeah.
Cleveland has won 3 straight. Yeah.
Cleveland's on fire, man.
They are. And with that defense, they could do some damage.
So I brought this up earlier, but Jamie, it sounds like you have heard the story about Gretzky inviting the Russians over to his house, and like the KGB came, and then he ended up
because they weren't allowed to drink. So
that's what it was.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this about I played in Russia, Dan, if you didn't know that, and
you've told me some great stories from Russia.
And they're extremely strict on alcohol consumption for their players. So much so that they'll take the entire team and bus it out to a place they call the Baza. It's basically an army barracks. It's located in the middle of nowhere. And they have fences around it, and they have dogs running in the yard. So players can't leave to go get drunk the night before a game.
Tell the listeners where you were living.
Oh, I was living at the rink in the
Literally
basement.
living at the rink.
So the boiler room, which had the hot water tank in it, which was massive, was in the middle of my room. And I had a little doorway, and I had a little area where I had a bed and a couch, and that was it. I had a shower, but you couldn't shower because the water was so bad that if you got it in your mouth, it was like poisonous. So I just,
seriously?
in that spot. Now, I could shower in the locker room. The water was okay there. So I would walk down sometimes at like midnight, walking around this arena all by myself and like go to the locker room, go take a shower. I'd play cards with a military guy who was there, and we couldn't speak to each other, but we drank vodka almost every night and played cards.
So when you got paid...
Oh, boy.
So when you got paid, you had to worry about your paycheck too, correct?
Oh, yeah, you have to worry. So they would pay you and then try to steal it back. So they would pay you like before training. And that's one thing they never tell me when training was. So they would just come on, like knock at the door and be like, training. You're like, okay, all right. So I, bring out the gimp, basically. They go down and they'd hand you your bag of cash. And they'd want you to just kind of turn around, put it back in the room.
So it wasn't direct deposit, wasn't a check.
Oh, no, it was a bag of cash. And
did anybody ever take said bag of cash?
They tried, but I got the heads up from a teammate, from a guy who played there the year before, David Ling. He said, they're going to pay you and try to steal it back, so go hide it. And he had dug a hole into the drywall underneath the fiberglass of the shower that they had put in there.
Oh, so he lived there too?
Yeah, he was there too. They had him in the same spot. And so I did. I hid the money, and I came back after practice. All my stuff was everywhere. They tried to find the money and steal it back.
You're being serious too?
Oh, dead serious. Absolutely.
How long did you play there?
1 year.
And would you have ever gone back? Because the money's pretty good, right?
Like the money's great.
That's
what
I mean.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It was more than I was making in the NHL.
Wow.
And it was all tax free, and they would just take there was like a lot of stuff that was going on. But yeah, basically at one point I was like, you know what? It's like the ultimate game of Survivor. Like if I manage to get out of here, I get to keep the money.
That's awesome.
Have there ever been players who have just left?
Oh, yeah. Lots of guys can't take it. It's brutal.
Like, not that, like, hey, guys, like, I'm leaving. It's just like, no, I just hopped on a plane and I'm gone.
Yeah, gone. Midnight move. Yeah, 100%. And, like, the training is off the charts. So we would get up at, like, 7 a.m. and go running outside in the winter. They do, like, a 5-kilometer run, which is, like, 2.5 miles. And then you'd come in and you'd have practice. After practice, you'd work out. Do, like, a circuit around the whole gym. They'd have everybody doing it. Then you'd go have lunch, and then you'd have a second practice that day was like special teams. So you go out there and work power play, penalty kill, and then you'd have a run after that as well. They call it a warm-down run, but it wasn't a warm-down run. It was like another 2 miles.
Did you have anybody that spoke English?
No. Not one guy on the team spoke English. The medical guy-ish, I don't know if he was anything really medically, he spoke French. and I could speak French. So my only form of communication was with the trainer to speak French to him, and he would speak Russian to the players.
That's awesome. How fluid is your French? Are you still on it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I graduated French high school, straight French. Like, all of the subjects that I took in school were all taught in French.
Wow.
So, yeah, I can certainly speak French, so that what made it easier. And then I learned some Russian, too, when I was there, and I could start to understand and speak some Russian. So the coach, it'd be funny because you'd be sitting up there for a power play meeting, and the coach would just be talking Russian. And I'd be thinking about, all right, what do I have to watch movies tonight? Who am I going to Skype? I don't know what's going on. Like, I had no idea what he's talking about.
Were the guys good to you, though?
Yeah, they were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they understand. They know where I came from in the NHL, so they look at you like, okay, we're not going to mess with this guy.
Sure.
And they didn't. They were great. And then, a couple of games you go in there, first handful of games I went out, and one of our best players got hit pretty hard. And I just skated over and tuned the guy in. Like, you just didn't.
So you got the respect immediately.
Well, not a lot of people were doing that in the KHL at the time.
Sure.
And so the fans loved it, and the players loved it. And
They got the Vuvuzelas going.
They did. And they had like a big banner, like a Canadian maple leaf with my number in it and all this stuff. It's crazy. Stories for hours.
That's awesome.
Stories for hours. All right, that's what's trending, and that's my life in Russia here on 101 ESPN. It's time for the Sports Six-Pack, so get on your phones and text the Air Comfort Service text line at 314-399-9646. Sports Six-Pack coming up next.
time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Danny Mack, and Andrew Marsh with our Sports Six-Pack. Question one,
please.
Question number one.
Looking at me, I
Wake
forgot.
up over there.
I got criticized last week for jumping the gun.
Have you heard this, Jamie?
I've heard it, yes. The very
Before
first time, I'm like, what is Dan doing?
could ask the
That was
question,
great.
I jumped the gun, and I got some flack for it. So,
Question one, please.
from the 217, has NIL money made much of an impact on college hockey? Do any players go to college instead of junior because of NILs?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. Maybe. I don't think there's not a...
What about your major programs?
Yeah, even the major ones. Yeah, there is some NIL money out there. I don't know enough about it, though, to really comment in detail. But do I think it's making players go to college instead of junior hockey? I don't see that being a difference maker yet, although I could be fooling myself. But I think a lot of these guys, to my point earlier today, the college program is a better spot for players to develop. If the fact that they're getting a little NIL money on the side, or not even on the side, up front, whatever it is now, however you want to word it, then that's probably gravy on top. But I think right now most of the guys are thinking about NHL.
Mostly you hear about it in football.
Yeah, I haven't heard it being a big difference maker in hockey yet.
They have it in golf. I talked to a coach not that long ago from a major program, and I asked him, I said, now, NIL money, they're not doing any of that kind of stuff, right, in golf? And he said, absolutely, we are. Just to keep kids, keep them around, and we've got some of the top players, and if you're going to compete with them, you got to find a way to make sure they get a little money in their pocket. So even in golf, which is college golf, is not seen, it's rarely seen on television.
Yeah.
Even these guys are getting a little bit.
Good for them.
Yeah, I'm totally agree. Good for them. Question two, please.
Question number two.
From the 573, when do you think the Cards will approach Jordan Walker with a contract extension? And what kind of contract do you see them potentially offering him?
Dan, I'll defer.
I thought that they may approach him even before his rookie season.
Really?
Yeah, I did. That's kind of a trend that we've seen with certain players, and the hype around Jordan Walker was so big, number one prospect in baseball. And we talk about how these salaries are just exorbitant now once you are able to hit free agency. In terms of a comp, maybe what Milwaukee has done with this young kid before he's seen a pitch in the big leagues, they signed him to an extension. The idea is that you hope that you're saving some money. You're hoping that you buy out the arbitration years and maybe a year or two of free agency. And if the player is what you think he is, then you're going to save some money. On the flip side, a player is getting generational type money. They're getting $80 to $90 million, $100 million, and they're saying, why take the risk? I'm one pitch away from getting hit in the face or something crazy like that, and saying, the hell with it, I'm just going to take the money. And I totally understand if they do. You may be leaving a lot on the table, but you're getting generational type money.
So if I'm Jordan Walker, I'm not worried too much about leaving money on the table, depending on the amount, of course, right? It's easy for me to say, but here's why. Is I think that Jordan Walker could sign a long-term deal, and at the end of that deal, still kick the bank.
Oh,
again.
yeah, he'll have another bite at the apple for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, if I'm his agent, I'm almost to the point where I'm like, listen, let's be nice. Let's play nice with the Cardinals here. To an extent, let's get market value to what you potentially could be, but let's not go crazy. And we sign a long-term deal. Let's say it's an 8-year deal. And at the end of that 8 years, he's still sitting there. He's got the Albert Pujols kind of going.
He's in the prime of his
career.
career.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yes.
not comparing him to Albert, but the situation to where Albert all of a sudden was able to cash in after he cashed in with the Cardinals.
Walker's, 21, 22 years old. He'd be in the prime of his career still, 29, 30.
Yep.
You're getting another bite at the apple, and you go for it. I've always felt like in baseball, if they offer you that money, especially if you're a pitcher, if you're a pitcher, and they offer you a contract extension, then you go ahead and do that. Like the 636 says, Acuna, a good example. He got 10 years, $100 million. With as good a player he is, and you'd think that that's not going to stop anytime soon, that's an unbelievable deal for the Braves. But the guy got $100 million. You know, at some point, like, how much is enough, and just to sign it and move on?
Yeah. And how old is he?
Acuna is probably in his 24 season, maybe.
He'll still have another chance to sign another contract. It may not be a massive, lucrative one, but it'll still be more money.
The Cardinals, under Mo, typically have tried to look at contract extensions in spring training, too. You get it done before the season. They target a couple of guys. Some guys go for it. Some guys don't. But nothing would surprise me if they did something in spring training this year with multiple guys. Goldschmidt being one, maybe Jordan Walker. You know, that makes sense. Then they've done that in the past. Question 3, please.
Question number 3.
From the 636, what's your funniest Christmas story from years past?
Oh, boy. Well, I told mine, I don't know if it's funny, but it's one I can remember. I told mine last week, Marshy. Remember on Friday, the BT was in here, and this was when I had been coaching in the minors and came back, and we arrived in the middle of the night, and I've got to put out, some of the last presents for the kids, and I had buried a few bourbons, and anyways, end up like basically asleep trying to write things and presents and paper everywhere, and my then wife comes down and is like, what the hell? Like, stuff is not done the way it needed to be.
Yeah.
Go into full scramble mode, and so funny now, maybe not funny then.
I got caught eating Santa's cookies.
What?
So,
how dare you?
Yeah, you can't do that. And my son, who was probably 6 or 7 at the time, popped out of his bedroom. He was supposed to be sleeping, waiting for Santa, saw me eating and taking a drink of Santa's milk, and went ballistic.
I would have too, Dan. In fact, right now I want to punch you.
Yeah.
I don't like you mess with Santa's stuff.
I know, you can't do that.
I can't believe, I'm surprised Santa didn't come in.
Really? Did you get a big
full court
lump
press?
Of coal that
Got
year?
a lump of coal, man.
You should have, too.
I did. Lump of coal coming my way.
Disgusting.
Question 4, please.
Question number 4.
This was from FedEx Colton. Jamie, should we see Big Colt 55 on the power play at some point if they can't get it going?
I don't hate the idea. Colton Parayko has done a really good job this year of shooting the puck more and getting it on net. And what has he got? 6 goals, I think, already this year. I'll double check that because, I'm a facts guy, Dan.
I know you are. You're up on all the numbers.
Colton Parayko, 6 goals so far in 33 games. Like, Colton Parayko doesn't view the game necessarily like your traditional offensive-minded quarterback defenseman does. But he does get the puck to the net. And if you're going to have a bit of a shot-first mentality, and let's say Scott Perunovich, it doesn't work out or there's an injury, I have no problem putting Colton Parayko out there with Justin Falk. Justin Falk is kind of in that one-timer spot right now. And Colton Parayko, everybody talks about, the 105-mile-an-hour bomb and all that stuff. You don't have to shoot it that hard. Like, you don't. You just have to hit the net. And things happen. So could I see him there if things, continue to trend in a negative way? Yeah. Could I see him if there's, an injury? Yeah, I can. Right now, the power play is trending upward. It's got a little uptick going, so I don't think you'll see too much of as far as changes are concerned, but I have no problem with him out there.
What was the number one thing you talked about on the power play when we started the show? Put the puck
on net.
On net.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, man. I think if they did that more with the first power play unit, you'd see a different power play period.
What people don't understand sometimes, or even players don't understand, is the chaos that ensues from a shot on net. So the puck gets behind the defenseman, and you've got bodies and pucks behind you. There's a rebound. You're scrambling now to try and find your coverage. You're scrambling to try and find the puck. And at the same time, you're outnumbered. So the offensive team gets the opportunity to capitalize on a rebound or a block shot or a deflection because there's chaos. And with chaos comes passing lanes. So in order to get to that pretty picture-perfect backdoor tap-in play, it usually comes off of a puck retrieval from a shot on net. And you grab the puck, somebody makes a quick pass out, then quick pass back, and it's in the net. So the fact that guys overlook the chaos that a shot can create, that's the frustrating part for me.
Question 5, please.
Question number 5.
From the 314, most likely to happen, the Cards miss the 2024 playoffs or they win the World Series.
Most likely to happen? I hate to say this. Missing the 2024 playoffs. I don't see this Cardinals team as it sits as a World Series contender, especially since, I don't know, there's a team called the Dodgers out there right now that look pretty good. There's a team called the Braves look pretty good. The Phillies look pretty good. So I'd say the odds are greater that they'd miss the playoffs than winning the World Series.
Let me throw this at you. The best team...
Don't you throw anything at me.
Over 162 games, so the best record in 162 games in 54 seasons, okay?
Yeah.
How many times have they won the World Series?
Oh. In how many years?
54.
The top team has won it.
So the top regular season team.
Yeah, I'll say 10.
14. Oh. I was shocked at that. I thought it'd be more than that.
Really? Yeah, I guess you would, right?
Well, I mean, you're throwing money at it. The Dodgers have an $8.35 billion television deal.
Yeah.
Guggenheim Dodger owners manage over $300 billion in assets. They ain't going anywhere, man.
No.
They're going to spend all the money they want.
Yep.
And not worry twice about it. And that's where they're going right now. Question 6, please.
Question number 6.
All right. This one comes from the 314. Did the Ravens defensive coordinator just earn a head coaching job next year with that performance last night and really all season?
I would imagine that he'd get a look or two. I just don't know. I don't know.
I was looking the other day. It's like 15 coordinators and head coaches switched spots from last year.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement.
I mean, if you have success and you're a coordinator, you're the hot coach that's out there and your team is deficient on one end or the other, you're going to get hired.
But identify the job availability, right? Because right now it's the Chargers and the Raiders, I think, that have, that are interim or whatever the case is. And if you look at both of those teams, they need an offensive guy. Like, I'm not bringing in a defensive coordinator again to coach Justin Herbert.
Agreed.
I'm just
in
not.
that regard, yeah.
I want an offensive-minded guy who can come in there and take Justin Herbert to the next level. And if I'm looking at the Raiders, I'm thinking the same thing. The Raiders, who do they have as quarterback right now? They've got a guy that looks like he was my drive-through attendant at McDonald's one day.
Antonio Pierce has been really good, though, as the head coach of the Raiders.
He has. But I think he stays on as head coach, so then it limits. Now you're back to the Chargers. Why would the Chargers go hire a defensive coordinator for a head coach? Why?
I'm with you on that. Where does Bill Belichick wind up in this?
Well, Bill Belichick would be, I guess, the exception to my rule at that point. I think that if you brought him into San Diego or into L.A. with the Chargers, I keep calling him San Diego. I don't ever want them to leave there.
I didn't either.
Yeah. But I think Bill Belichick would be the exception to the rule, and I think Bill would bring in somebody who could work really well with Justin Herbert. I think that Bill knows how important that guy would be for the quarterback. So
I don't know if I'd want to give Bill Belichick the keys to my franchise in terms of draft. You know what I mean? Look at the personnel.
He's not a great GM.
The personnel right now on that team is not very good.
I agree. I thought that before the Patriots fire him, I thought that maybe Bob Kraft would bring in a GM and say, Bill, you're our head coach, and we brought help in the GM department.
And you got to phrase it as help.
Yeah, because
you can keep the title, but this guy's going to run the show.
Co-GM with you.
Good luck trying to sell that, though.
Oh, well, or you can go away, Bill. But that'll be your choice. Then you will leave. We won't be firing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's on you, Bill.
That has been the Sports Six-Pack, please.
It has been. Well done, Danny. Well done, Danny. I was kind of confused. I was waiting for the next question again.
I think that was it, wasn't it?
This whole new version had me so perplexed for a second.
Me too at the beginning.
All right, it's time for biggest question of the day coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Ring in the new year with the ultimate timeless gift. How about a diamond, fellas, from Diamonds Direct? Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a lifetime of love in 2024, Diamonds Direct can make this New Year's one to remember forever. Diamonds Direct is the area's destination for exquisite diamonds in every shape, every size, and they have a nationwide price guarantee that guarantees you will get the best value, period. To showcase that spectacular diamond, Diamonds Direct also has thousands and thousands of designer settings from all the top names. Corey, Viraggio, Simon G, A. Jaffe, and many more. And their experts are going to help you along the way. You will get a diamond education over at Diamonds Direct. So whatever you're looking for, engagement rings, wedding bands, eternity bands, fashion rings, they are all there over at Diamonds Direct. Start off the new year on the right foot with Diamonds Direct. Go to diamondsdirect.com for locations and store hours. Check them out, though. Get into the showroom at Olive and 270 at City Place. It's Diamonds Direct.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues won over the weekend 7-5, defeating the Chicago Blackhawks. They'll be back in action tomorrow night, taking on the Dallas Stars. Pregame starts at 6. Puck drop is at 7. You can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. If you miss anything from today's show, including our interview with Joe Vitale, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or use the free 101 mobile app. Check out the podcast page. All of our interviews and full shows are there. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl tonight for you. Pregame starts at 7:30. Coming up next, our biggest question of the day. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center Update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
It's a Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. We got about 20 minutes or so left here. Danny Mac, Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh. Marshy, it's time for biggest question of the day. I'm expecting a serious performance from you here.
Yeah, so tonight we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Pregame starting at 7:30. However, it's not the bowl game that I'm looking forward to this week. I'm looking forward to the Mizzou-Ohio State game on Friday, and we know that Mizzou has cashed in with the transfer portal. We did get a question, an extra question for our Sports Six-Pack. So, Dan, if you would like to throw to question number 7.
Question 7, please.
From the 314, do you think the transfer portal is going to get out of hand?
Yeah.
It already is.
I was thinking, what? We're already there.
They got another one today. I believe it was today, this afternoon. Mizzou got a defensive lineman from Florida.
So how is Mizzou doing this? Because I don't understand how they get all the NIL money, right? Because people are saying, well, this is where you're going to see Mizzou's NIL money kick in.
This is an in-state thing that they, and I cannot get in the particulars, but they do have an advantage over other schools to an extent with some of the regulations that they have with the state of Missouri. I think. I'm not positive about that.
Oh, no, Dan, I want you quoted on here.
No.
A legal disclaimer.
No, sir. No, sir.
I'm just trying to figure out how, because some of these other colleges, like you'd have to imagine that some of them have like so much money available. But then here's Mizzou, little old Mizzou in Columbia going, no, we're fine. We're going to just, pick your pocket and pay these guys.
They have in the transfer portal, I think they are ranked number 1 right now in terms of, 4 or 5 star guys, starters, the compilation that they put together for, guy played this many minutes, this many snaps, whatever. But I think they're number 1 right now in the country.
Really?
Which is unbelievable.
Well, I know that every big player seems to be all of a sudden announcing via Instagram that they're going to be Missouri Tigers. And so then my biggest question to both of you guys on the heels of this NIL question is next year a make it or break it for Mizzou football?
College football playoff.
Well, 12 teams, they better get in.
That's what that would be the make it or break it for me.
But is it not higher than that? Based on Luther Burden will be gone after next year. They're going to lose players. They're going to these guys that they're bringing in through the transfer portal are difference maker players. You don't think they're going to have aspirations of getting to the NFL quickly?
Yeah, once they're done with their eligibility.
Which most of these guys, next year is the last year.
So you're asking me what make or break is for me?
Yeah.
And it's getting into the college football playoff. And then I'll take my chance. I'm 12th? Not talking about them. Yeah, that's fine. They don't have to be number 1 in the country. I want to see them get to the expansion of the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm. Marshy?
Just get in. You never know what happens. That seems to be the theme around these parts. But
yeah, that's true.
I think for them, what has Mizzou done in the past 10 years? This is the best season that they've had. And if they continue to build and build and build, even if they, let's say they're the 12th seed, or which I think would go to the group of 5, but let's just say they're the bottom of the Power 5 conferences, they're still in. They're better than the majority of college football teams. I think you can build off of that. And I think they're building off of what they did this year. They didn't even make the college football playoff. Obviously, there's only 4 teams this year compared to 12 next year. So it's a little bit different, but I think just getting there and having their name in the discussion will help build their program. And, I mean, I don't think you can go. I think the worst thing they could do is just fall flat, especially with the schedule they have coming up next year. I mean, they should be in the college football playoff with their schedule.
I agree.
So just getting in's not enough for me. It's not. I'm looking at a team right now that's currently ranked 9th without all these transfers and these guys, these studs that they've been able to recruit. I'm sorry. For me, if it's 12 teams next year, it has to be 6th or better in the nation.
They got to get a running back.
I want them to be at the top end of the playoff.
I mean, it's fair. It's shooting high. I just think you get in and then top 12 is pretty
with an
darn
attitude
good.
Like that, Dan, you'll never win a championship.
I agree.
Make me sick.
Do you think, Dan, they need...
Get over it.
Do you think they need a running back that can replicate...
They got to replace, what's his name, Schrader.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going to find that guy, though.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But didn't they just get somebody through the transfer portal, too?
What I'm saying, can he replicate? Can they find a back that can replicate?
That's going to be hard to replicate a nearly Heisman Trophy season.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, I feel like they need to, because some of the games this year they really relied on him to take some of the workload off of Brady Cook and the rest of the offense.
I just think that aspirations for me have to be higher. If they're 9th in the country this year, it's got to be better than 9th.
No, that's fair.
With the team that they're going to field next year, with the expectations that I have anyways, I think they got to be better than 9th.
I can't imagine a Mizzou season being expectation-wise in the last 50 years being this high.
I agree.
They had really good teams, obviously. They got to number 1 in the country with Chase Daniel and Macklin and some of the great players that they had, but not like this. Not like how the transfer portal has changed things. The recruiting class is really good. Their wide receiving core, that is what's interesting to me. I mean, they've got a bunch of 5, 4, and 3-star guys coming back or will be introduced to the program, and that's going to be something that you watch for, looking forward to next season. But get me in the college football playoff and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it's for me, it's exciting to be talking about a Mizzou team that's relevant.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, really, like coming into this season, I was as pessimistic as anybody. I didn't even think they'd get 6 wins.
I didn't either. I didn't either.
So, chew on that for a while, Jamie, as they come in and they fall 9th in the nation now, and they're going to be playing in a major bowl. So, good for them. I would love to see them have a season that gets them not just in the playoffs, but they can actually do some damage.
Do they need to win a game for you then?
I don't know if they. Yes, if I'm wanting them to finish, better than 9th, then I would expect them or like them to win one playoff game.
Which would help if they. I mean, to your logic, it would help if they hosted that first round too. That'd be huge for the program.
Are you guys intrigued at all?
Harpos?
Oh my gosh! What would the cover? The cover be 100 bones.
Yeah, we got to pay that NIL money.
If you guys,
Luther Burden running with the Harpos T-shirt.
That would be unbelievable. That place would be rocking. Are you guys intrigued with the bowl game this week with Ohio State?
I am. I just want them to absolutely pummel Ohio State. I do. For all the crap and all the whining and the complaining and all that, and then players not playing, I want Mizzou to go in there and just put the friggin' wheels to them.
Marvin Harrison, by the way, they had their first practice maybe today, I guess it was, for Ohio State, and he did not take part in that, which changes a lot.
Yeah.
When you talk about how good Ohio State is.
It would be bad, though, if they lost with all those guys out.
It would be. You're right. We'll find out when that comes up here on Friday night. All right, we're going to take our last break. Here we come back. We're going to have what you missed, criticism, compliments, and whatever else we think of here on 101 ESPN. Fastlane here on 101 ESPN. What you missed today. We recapped our holidays. We talked about our Christmas Day and a couple other things we did. We talked about the Blues with their epic comeback against the Chicago Blackhawks. We also talked Blues Qs. We have a number of questions that were answered there. Talked about this Blues team under Coach Drew Bannister. We also hit the NFL, talked a little bit about the Pick'em Challenge. We talked a little bit about Brock Purdy and whether he slid out of the MVP discussion. We talked about Lamar Jackson, whether he is the favorite now in the MVP discussion. A little smoke and mirrors. We had our very own Joey Vitale on. You can catch all of these things on the podcast. Go to 101ESPN.com. Go to the mobile app. Download the podcast. All of that brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto. All right, Marshy, time for criticisms and compliments.
Yeah, real quick, want to give a shout out to my lovely girlfriend. It's her birthday today.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What's your girlfriend's name again?
Rachel.
Rachel, happy birthday,
So
Rachel.
happy birthday to her. Going to make her a nice dinner tonight.
Nice, very
So
romantic.
I will be cooking. It's kind of should be interesting.
Tough day to have a birthday because you're the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
You get shortchanged maybe.
You do, or maybe you get extra.
That's true, too.
You never know, right?
Look at it the positive way.
You put Peter positive. I mean, nothing's greater than an evening alone with Andrew Marsh who's cooking. I mean, my goodness.
Gonna make some pasta, a little chicken in there.
Nice.
It's gonna be great. So,
Little vino, maybe? A little bubbly?
yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see what's going on tonight.
All right.
Does she like the mustache, Marshy?
She does.
Okay.
She does. It's extra thick
There you
this
go.
time of year too.
It's
so
old school.
The old lip sweater.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get to some criticisms and compliments from the 314. Jamie, love to give you crap, but way to keep the kid in check. This is in reference to the Gauntlet. You beat Reed. He's 11 years old. Can't let him get too big for his britches.
That's right.
I don't like it one bit, and that's why Reed's going to come back tomorrow. We're going to give him a shot because he got random today. That's tough on an old 11-year-old, so let's give him a shot at hockey or baseball or
about
football.
A book that he's never read yet, hasn't come through school yet. All sorts of great things.
So you mentioned that Reed would get an extra chance tomorrow because of he got random. He wanted hockey.
Woo! Bless you,
Marshy.
Thank you. Sorry.
You did your best there, too. Nice try.
I tried.
Yeah.
But he wanted hockey or football. He got random. But we did get a text from the 206. He should get a chance to whoop Jamie's butt in any category he chooses. He doesn't give a crap about Marsh, Dan, or Carey Davis.
All right. That's fine. We'll let Reed decide tomorrow. He's got his pick of the litter tomorrow.
There you go. We did get a criticism from the 618.
No.
What a worthless show today. No answers to why the Cards don't care to win championships anymore.
Because that's extremely topical on a day where there's absolutely no baseball news, let alone Cardinal news. Let's just keep kicking the cat down the road here as we're worried about John Mozeliak and his unwinning ways and the DeWitt's not spending money, because that's what everybody wants to hear today is just useless banter about the Cardinals.
And we did talk about the Cardinals.
Yeah, we talked about Jordan Walker.
Talked about Mo.
We did.
Maybe we'll spend 4 hours tomorrow bashing the Cards.
That's it.
During
Nothing
the
but bashing the
offseason.
Cards, because I know that's what everybody wants to hear.
Yeah. We'll get to
It's
it.
winning radio.
One more, please.
Last one from Chris from the Snake Pit. He watched the Gophers win the Quick Lane Bowl. Good game. I'm sure all the friends are happy.
I'll tell you what, I got a lot of friends that were tuned into that game, and they were very pleased with the way that transpired. And so far, they're very pleased on what's happening with Texas State. Up 21-7 on Rice.
All right, that's it for us today. Danny Mac, thank you for jumping in. Tomorrow will be
Thanks,
Carey
buddy.
Davis and myself alongside Andrew Marsh here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.